I'm Moya on FaceTime here.
Oh yeah, what's good, Kevin? What's good?
What's good, my boy?
All right, we are live right now. What's popping, boys?
How you doing?
It's chilling, man. It's chilling. It's another day, looking at all this chaos going on in the
Saturday
world.
Night Live, baby.
Yeah. So I guess should we just go for like an hour, or how long do you want to go? Do you want to set like a time limit, or just go till whenever?
Dude, whenever, man.
All right. Yeah.
I'm
So I
chilling.
guess I guess I'll like start off the conversation a bit, and we'll see where it takes us. Like I don't want to like obviously do a script or like anything stupid. Let's just see where the
Yeah,
conversation takes us. But yeah,
yeah.
like really, what I want to talk about is the red shift we saw, which I feel happened ever since the Trump assassination and all that stuff, the attempted assassination, whatever. And
hmm
it's really interesting. Like, and I'm sure you probably know about Snoop Dogg, how he's like supporting Trump, for example. This is a very like obviously small example of like this big red shift we're seeing. Where remember like 5 years ago or whenever it was, maybe it was 8 years ago in Trump's first term when he became president. He made a music video of him like basically pretending to shoot him. You know what I'm talking about? Like basically kill him. That music video Snoop Dogg had.
Uh,
It might
when
have
was
been like in Trump's first term. Remember when he first became president and like everyone was like anti-Trump and all that.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I remember the song "Fuck Donald Trump." I remember that coming out. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. In the music video, he basically pretended to kill him
Oh,
with
really?
a gun.
Okay.
Like yeah. But anyway, so now he's a Trump supporter, right?
Yeah.
All these people, you can go on. The list goes on and on. Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg,
hmm
even corporations now are abandoning the woke stuff.
Right.
It's really interesting because to see them go this route, I didn't expect them to do this, and I don't I'm not sure maybe if you felt the same, but I really expected them to keep the wokeness stuff going until
hmm
like people just cracked and like started really like taking stuff to the street and rioting and like just if it really came to that. So I find it does make sense what they're doing though right now. It's actually really clever because the liberals, the left, whoever, people who lean left, they have already proven that they'll do whatever government says. Like they'll take whatever
Right.
government says. Like they've already proven that their mind control is basically finished.
Yeah.
So now it's like the conservatives because they've become very like aware. There's been like this big awakening to truth, even though we both know it's still kind of misleading because their
hmm
version of truth still is politics. It's either politics or organized religion. That's what it typically is. Those two.
Right.
So yeah, it's really interesting and it's clever because now they're basically gonna try to get the people who lean more conservative minded uh, to down this technocracy, possible vaccines. Like we obviously we can't predict the future. There's
hmm
many different cards they could pull on us, but I
Yeah.
want to know what you think. If you feel the same as me, as when it comes to the red shift, how it's really interesting how they did this. Did you feel that they were going to make Trump president again? Like how are you feeling how things panned out since elections?
Well, first, I think all this shit is a script. So I think, let's say Snoop Dogg, for example, like him being on one side, and then years later, now he's on another side. I think like all these celebrities are in on the script, and Donald Trump was scripted to be president in year 2025. Um, based on just numerology alone, he was going to be the 47th president. His name equals 47, and he also did a lot of other things to become 45 too. So for me, and then Joe Biden too. Joe Biden's name also in numerology is 46. He became the 46th president. So it's like each year these presidents are like scripted to be who they're chosen to be.
So
And
do you think that the plan this whole time was to put Trump in this term, or do you think that maybe everything just depends? Maybe that their plan was to put in Biden, but because they saw this really big awakening to truth that they decided to adjust their plans, or do you think the plan was always to put
I,
Trump in?
I think it was always put Trump. I think once he left after Biden, he was going to get back in. Like that, it was written years before.
Okay.
And you got to remember, a lot of these people are. I think all the presidents are related. except for two of them.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
only
they are. Did you ever see that news clip? A lot of truthers have shown this clip. It was like a 12-year-old girl. This was back in like 2010. It
yeah,
was the little girl that made
yeah,
made a diagram of all the presidents except one that
yeah,
they were all related. I forgot which one wasn't.
yeah. And it was one like way years ago. It wasn't even a recent one. So it's like just
So
knowing that alone.
they basically told us, that's their subliminal way of telling us that yes, presidents are all related.
Exactly. And it goes back to one empire, one control of government, two wings on the same bird. And for me, like, I don't get involved in politics, like, until, like, that's the thing, like, I'm a believer in democracy and politics, but not this current political system that we have. I think it's really we're living in a communist state disguised as a democracy, you
Yep.
know? And people, like you said, they're like falling for the brainwashing, whether they're left or right. And it's like the people on the right, they're like somewhat awake, but they're still like, falling down these traps of like
Hmm.
truth. They think Donald Trump is like the Messiah, and they believe like he's like chosen by God. So it's
Yeah.
like,
I had someone telling me this dude on X. Do you have X by any chance?
yeah, I hate calling it X. I still call it Twitter.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you should do we follow each other on there?
I don't know if we do, but we should.
Okay, yeah. But
After
anyway,
this, give
there
me
was this
your
dude.
thing.
Yeah, so there was this dude, right? He started following me, and he would DM me a lot. I don't know who the fuck this guy was, or excuse my language, but I don't know who this guy was. But like, he would talk to me a lot because like we were talking about red pill, and like we would have pretty intellectual conversations, whatever, just texting. And like, he was a very big Trump guy, and I like he was going on because he saw what I was saying about how screw politics, all that. It's all a sham. It's all dog and pony show.
Hmm.
And he's just like, well, no, like it's something about foreign policy. He kept talking about. I don't know. Have you ever heard about this? I've never heard
Yeah,
someone say this before. He's like, actually, everything is foreign policy, and like the U.S. government could never be infiltrated, like you're saying. And it's like, what? Dude, it's like, here's what I'm saying, dude. I feel like a very brief history on the Federal Reserve can
hmm,
just simply tell you who's running the United States, and that's very surface level. We know it goes deeper than just like international bankers.
yeah,
Like that's just a very like I don't know, like elementary school thing to learn about the Federal Reserve. And I feel like people just I don't know why they don't want to do it. It's like they can't do it. And even if they do, it's like they don't feel the need to change anything. It's like they'll still always believe that money has intrinsic value, and it's because of this belief in money that we have, like that it actually has intrinsic value, that we're basically demoralized as a society. Like,
hmm,
let's say I had $1 million, right? Let's say I had the lifestyle of Andrew Tate. That's what I promoted, or like that's like how I look. How much more serious do you think people would take me online and like
right,
stuff? And it's crazy because I could be saying nonsense, but like if I have the look of like being a millionaire or something, people will take me serious. But me,
yeah,
just us having an intellectual conversation like this, two guys sitting on StreamYard or whatever, who no one really knows, people are gonna be
hmm,
like, who cares?
yeah.
And I just think it's sad how we've uh, come to this. But anyway, not to like get too deep in the weeds. I guess as far as things are going now, are things panning out how you expected since elections, or how do you see uh, that things are going to go for the coming future? Because I mean, we could talk about it all day long, like speculate, but what do you think in the end is going to happen here?
Well, you know, as far as like what we are seeing right now, it doesn't look good. I'm always the type of person to keep an optimistic mindset. I believe that that's the only way you should live is to think for the best. Hope for the best and do the work to create the best outcome. Like us getting on here right now, talking truth and putting it out to the world. This is our form of helping the best scenario come about in the world. Waking people up, getting people out of this brainwash, this matrix, this system that's keeping people, so divided. We live in a country where everything is divided by race, by color, by job, by economic, by your town, what sports team you like. If you wear red, I wear black, I wear green, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like this is so like crazy how it's called the United States, but none of the states are united. you know, I do think that there's gonna be some type of like boiling point where, like example, you're seeing rent and you're seeing the prices of eggs and different types of
My rent just went
groceries.
up for this year by $100. My rent
Yeah, right. And
starting this month today, February 1st, or it's February 2nd now, but 'cause it's
that's
midnight.
crazy. And
Yeah.
it's like, are we getting paid more? Like that's the thing. Like,
And it's crazy, dude, because like I'm in a sales job, but like my
mhm,
base is 40K. And let's just say I didn't make sales, whatever, but like 40K isn't even that bad. It's just like, my God, in this economy,
right, right.
can't really survive on that.
Dude, think about like 30 years ago, even just 20 years ago, 40K would be enough for a parent to put their kids through college, have one parent just working and the other parent taking care of the kids. Now you need both parents to take care of the bills just
Yeah.
to eat,
Yeah,
you
and we
know?
know this is by design because this is one of the many ways you suck the life out of people, make them miserable, and you divide people because people aren't coming together, making families, and it's people. One of the reasons people don't want to get in relationships, get married, have kids, especially, is
Hmm.
financial reasons, and they're not wrong. Some people
Right,
might say, "Oh, it's a selfish reason," but if
right,
it's purely maybe, but it's the fact that it's a valid excuse, and the older generations probably don't understand this because
right.
I mean, my dad's actually about to turn 64 this month.
Hmm.
My mom's the same age, so they're older parents that I have, right?
Hmm.
And it's just when they describe how things are when they were like in their 20s, like us, it's a lot
Yeah,
different.
right.
And really, what they had is community. They had to go outside, right?
Hmm.
If they wanted to talk to someone.
Right.
Now we live in this world where uh, we're just at a point where we're mainly interacting through a screen. And I was telling my parents today, because I was speaking to them, I saw them at dinner today, and I was telling them, it's really sad that most of my interaction, especially with the opposite sex, ever since COVID, really has been through a screen. It's like
Mm.
I don't know what happened ever since 2020, but my social life just changed. I used to meet girls or like other friends, even just like living my life through other friends, mutual friends mainly, and like
Right.
now it's like everything's like online.
Hmm.
People that I'm meeting, cool people.
Yeah.
Like think about how we met. We met through a mutual friend.
Right.
So yeah, it's just they've really done a good job, the powers that be, at dividing us on a lot of levels, and
Hmm.
economically, they're pricing all of us out. And I've lived on my own for 3 years, man, and like the financial stress that I've had, it's like I'm just surviving. I only have enough money to survive. I don't have enough
Right.
money to
To like save and
yeah,
do this
like
and that.
I would
Right.
love to join boxing, right? Instead of just going to gym,
Hmm.
I would love to like do something, but that's like $200 a month. I can't afford that
Right. Right.
right now. So
Yeah.
that this is bad, and
Yeah.
I this is why, of course, me and you are on here right now because more people need to understand that something needs to change because
Hmm.
we can't live life. What are they going to do? They're just going to keep printing more money. That's their only solution. It doesn't matter who's in office, right? All they're going to
Hmm.
do is just print more money and add on to the debt, add on to the inflation, whatever. So people need to understand it doesn't matter who's in office. You might see times where things get cheaper for a little bit, but there's an agenda here, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
People don't see the bigger picture. They just see Donald Trump. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do that. And for example, right, the two people I work with in my department, one's an old lady. She's 80 years old,
Hmm.
right? And she's a big Trump person, right? She openly talks about politics and how she's big and everything Trump is doing right now. She just loves it. She's like she thinks we're taking America back,
Yeah.
and like I just don't get it, you know?
It's a brainwash, bro. It's like these people are all part of like a magic spell. Trump's following is like a cult following. And it's funny that you say that because I had someone, a female, who, she's been following me on Instagram for a while, but I had posted, whatever you saw me post some things about the crashes and whatever. So she had responded, and she was saying how basically the people around her or people she knows just won't believe that Trump's a part of it. They think they're denying that, oh,
Yep.
Trump has anything to do with those crashes. And like right there, and when I told her, I was like, that's just because people are under the spell of this cult like following that Trump has. And it's crazy because it's like me and you, and I know a lot of other people, we can see this the brainwashing. We're not falling
Do
for
you
it.
know other people that see this? Because I really don't know, like personally, many people. Like, there's people I follow on X or whatever, like small accounts. But like, do you know people personally
That
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 like know truth?
oh that like on the same like wavelength as us, like truth
Yeah,
seekers and stuff.
yeah,
I do, but like it's a very small amount.
yeah.
Like I can probably less than a handful of people that I know I can speak to in person about these type of things.
Okay.
um Online is really, and that's the beauty about like the online too, like there's pros and cons. Like the good thing is that you do get to connect with people from around the world that think like you and share the same ideas, but um there is a downside to this technology. But yeah, for the most part I would say honestly I don't know people who can have this type of conversation. But the people I'm around, like family, whatever, most of us have like this understanding that we have discernment. We can see that Trump is a con artist. like I don't understand how people can watch him talk on TV and not see he's a straight con artist. Like
Yeah,
he's a con man, man, and he's literally ripping people off of their dignity, their life, and
yeah,
their souls. Really.
yeah. And of course, I guess I can understand from the average intellect why they're falling under a spell, because quite simply were just tired of the wokeness. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
And everything right now is just like Trump is just like anti woke. So everything looks good because, right, companies are now abandoning pronouns, or he says there's only two genders,
Right.
and
And
he
and,
banned
and
banned like the bathroom. So I get it. Go ahead, my bad.
No, no, just right there, what you're saying. Like, I agree with some of those things, not all of
Of
them, but
course,
like,
yeah, yeah,
there's agendas that I don't like on the left side,
yeah,
and I think like if as an American, you should be both left and right. You shouldn't just be, oh, I'm a left, oh, I'm a right. No,
yeah.
you
You
should have
have
opinions on both.
balance, yeah,
You know what I
balance.
mean? Like I personally on the right side, I agree with a lot of the things that they push in their political agendas. I agree with guns. I think we should have our own guns. Like I agree with that. I
Yeah,
agree that abortion is wrong unless it's under like a RAPED. That's different. Or if you have like a medical problem, then that's different. But I do agree that abortion is wrong. So it's like there's a lot of things that I agree with on the right, but then there's a lot of things I agree with on the left. Like I think healthcare
sure.
should be free. I think everyone should have healthcare. You shouldn't have to pay for that. Like,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
so that's what being American is. Like you should have a mixed balance of ideas and you come
yeah.
together on them.
And I'm glad you said that, because really what the problem is, and I'm not saying I have this perfectly figured out, but we're all suffering from brain imbalances, whether it's the left or the right. I think right now, currently, because I'm using THC quite heavily, and I'm
Hmm.
at the point in my life where I'm using that quite heavily, and I think you get, if I'm not mistaken, a right brain imbalance if overuse of THC.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, the point is right. So a lot of the conservative stuff, right, is it's more masculine, you could say. It's more
Yeah.
traditional, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that masculine figure blended with that empathetic emotional, right?
Hmm.
Which would be more of the left.
Right.
Because something I really agree with on the left is stuff about borders, right? Like, I don't believe there should be borders at all in the world. My
Right.
personal take on it is there shouldn't be any borders. Like, even in the United States, it's ridiculous how here in New Jersey I could smoke a joint on the street and not be bothered. But if I go in Pennsylvania, right over here, 20 minutes
Right.
away, I can get arrested for weed because it's still illegal there.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think there should be a universal law. Like, the new world order that they want to do, there could be a good new world order.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just they're using it obviously for their evil purposes, and
Hmm.
that's something I agree with on the left, right? I also agree that we should allow a gay marriage. We should be more accepting of that, stuff like that, because
Hmm.
they the a lot of people on the right, believe it or not, are actually closeted homosexuals. I don't know if you've looked
Yeah.
at like the statistics, but it's pretty crazy actually, the amount
Yeah.
of people that have same sex attraction in their life, or like maybe they're not full on gay, but like have done something, or like
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
saying. And the reason why people get so mad at gays is because like they get mad that they would do it themselves. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it's like
Right.
a subconscious urge to get mad. But anyway, not to get
Yeah.
too deep into the weeds. But yeah, the goal really is to balance stuff out. And because some people, I think everything right now is just about hatred for the other side. It's just the left just hates Trump and all
Hmm.
that now, and the right just hates the woke stuff, and that's really what the main focus is. This is why, to the average intellect, right, it looks
Yeah,
like Trump is doing a good thing because everything is just anti-liberal, basically anti whatever they were just doing,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
charade they were just pulling. But
All right.
I
Yeah,
want to
you're.
know
Yeah.
what you think about Elon Musk in the picture here. I want to know what you think about him. Did you see him dancing, by the way, at the inauguration?
I didn't even watch the inauguration.
Yeah, I didn't either, but oh my god, the video of him dancing, dude,
Yeah,
he looked like an idiot, bro. He just
yeah.
looked like he had mental problems.
He is. He's
Like
autistic.
he was going like this, that he just looks so weird, dude.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
what do you
funny.
think about Elon Musk in the mix here with Trump and all that?
Well, you see out of nowhere, Elon and Zuckerberg are now Trump's like right hand man.
Yeah,
The one guy wants to put a chip in your brain, the other guy wants to put you in a virtual reality. And you got Trump, the guy who's coming into office with all this cult like following. I wouldn't be surprised if half of his followers went along with the chip in the brain and in the metaverse, whatever, you know. So I think that what that is called is fascism, where government and corporations, collaborate to push an agenda, and that seems like what's happening here. Elon Musk is a fraud. Elon Musk
oh
doesn't
yeah.
control any of these companies that he says he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. He's literally autistic. Like he can't even
What is it that
speak.
he originally got known for? PayPal, right? He was founder of PayPal. Is that like the original thing?
I forgot if it was PayPal or what. I don't think it was PayPal. Maybe it was. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I do remember that he got rich in the 90s. I
Yeah,
wasn't born until 96, but reading back on it, it was in the 90s he got
yeah.
rich.
But then
But
his family's been involved in like technocracy though, right? Throughout the generations, right?
yeah, yeah. All their families, every single one of them, their families are all connected into governments and technology and all these things. So it's like it's these people are chosen actors on the world stage, and
Yeah,
they're just playing it out a script. And
yeah.
just like the sports athletes, if your dad was in the NFL or NBA, then you have a better chance of being in those same leagues than the guy who's just not from the NFL or NBA lineage. So that's what it is. Like me and you, we could never become the president of the United States in this current political system because we're not born into that stuff.
Right.
Trump, Obama, Biden, all of them were born into this. So it's like it's really us against them, and the American people, they think Trump is on their side, they think Biden's on their side. You know what I mean? They're like, oh no, I these people are represent who I am. No, these people represent something dark, something evil, something sinister that has control over humanity for thousands of years. you know and it's just they've took us out of like actual chains and you know physical change. They took us out of that and just put us in a mental chain. you know the shackles are no longer on our feet, they're on our minds. And
Mhm.
that's what I think the world has to realize. And it's really the United States. The United States has to figure it out. We
Yeah,
have to be the one to break this program, to break this system, because we're the melting pot of the world,
yeah,
and the world is really looking at us. For example, I spoke to some people that live in the United Kingdom, and they told me, I'm not really familiar with the United Kingdom, like with their like politics and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a royal, family, whatever. But they were telling me how a lot of their news is American news. Like they're very like in the know of what's going on here in America. So it seems like around the world it's the same thing. People are much in the know of what's happening in America. So it's like the
yeah.
the the microscope is on America. So I think that again, Elon Musk, he's a fraud, and he's not this guy who runs all these companies. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
He plays video games all the time. He's like the highest score,
Yeah,
And what's that game, Diablo? That's that demonic game. He's like one of the best players in the world.
yeah, I
Like,
heard about that. I don't know what the game is called, but I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
it's like a
Yeah, Diablo means devil or not devil. I think Satan. It's
yeah, it's a satanic game, and he's like one of the best players in the world. But like for him to be the best player, one of the best players, you have to put like countless hours into playing the game. So like, how the hell is he running all these companies and the best
yeah,
in the
it's
world? Like,
dude. It's like on Twitter how like he's just tweeting all day. Like you would think he has no life, and he's just sitting there tweeting. Like we all
exactly.
know, it's his freaking AI demons, whatever that he's summoning, over there that
Hmm.
are doing all this talking. But I think it's really interesting how Elon Musk, like especially in 2024, like 2023, he starts using the right talking points and starts even becoming a conspiracy theorist.
Right,
Talk
right.
about the surface level things like JFK files and Epstein
Yeah,
Island
yeah,
and all that.
yeah. Like
And
they're not all of a part of it.
yeah, and putting freaking cane sugar instead of high fructose syrup in the Coca Cola and all that stuff. But anyway,
Hmm.
it's like it's a synthetic blend of like technocracy and the conservatives because it's like what I was saying earlier. It's like now they have to get the conservative Christians on board, and like they're obviously not all going to fall for it, but they're going to get whoever they can. They'll probably get most of them.
Hmm.
And people, there's going to be people that wake up from it, and there are people that woke up from like Trump and like because they were under his spell and they wake up.
Right.
But anyway, so that's really what this is right now. That's what I think Elon Musk is. They're just basically because he's using right wing talking points, because he's a conspiracy theorist, because he goes on Joe Rogan and all these podcasts. Now people trust him, right? So and he tickles the conservatives' ears with like,
Hmm.
oh, we got to do this, have more kids, right? And get the birth rates up, which is a real problem.
Yeah. Right.
But he's like using that as like, oh, like, we gotta we gotta do this, and that's a right wing talking point. So
Hmm.
again, they're basically using Elon Musk. They're blending him with Trump so that the conservatives can trust him, and who knows where this is going to lead us with like you said, the brain chipping or whatever it is that he wants to do. Basically, put
Yeah.
technology inside of us,
Hmm.
and also the other things he's doing, like taking us to Mars and like
Yeah.
all this
Nonsense.
ridiculous stuff, that he's trying to accomplish, which
Yeah.
is like, it's so funny that these billionaires do. They want to take us to Mars. Like we haven't even gone back to the moon apparently
Yeah.
since 1973, and then not even just that. It's like doesn't this guy has billions of dollars? Why can't he just solve world hunger?
Right.
Like what is he
Right.
talking about going to Mars? Like who
Right.
cares?
Exactly.
Like,
No, but
like
none of us want to leave Earth anyway.
no,
Like,
yeah. It's like people only care about Mars or whatever because they talk about it so much that it's like, oh
yeah.
wow, it's so cool, man. But it's like, dude, these people could be doing much better things with their money.
Exactly. And
But
honestly, I don't even think they own that much money in the first place. Like,
no, we know that Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, those aren't the richest guys in the world. That those are
yeah.
the front men for richest guys
Yeah,
and
and
all
and
that.
their money is controlled. It's not like they can just spend it freely. Like if they want to buy a bunch of houses, yeah, they can do that. But like if they want to like feed a bunch of people, like give $1 billion to a country, they can't do that. Their money will get blocked, because they're getting paid by the people above them, which is really the church.
Right,
The
right.
church and those ancient families that have been around for a long time that come from Italy, and then you got to it's a whole it's like a web of different things, right? But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, they all serve a demonic force. It's a pyramid,
yep.
like the pyramid on our dollar bill. It's like there's an eye at the top of the pyramid. What the
Hmm.
fuck is that eye? So that's what all these people serve, and none of us are a part of that, like, and that's what these Trump people don't understand. You're not a part of Trump. Like you're not one of his people. That's what these people think. Like, bro, I have so many people that I follow. So I grew up in a white neighborhood, right? And half of them are like
What
left,
town
the
did you
other
grow up in again? Or do you
uh,
not want to say on here?
upper side of river.
Oh, okay.
But I'm a product of Bergen County. Like I'm all
Yeah,
over
me too.
Bergen County. Like I
Yeah,
know people
same.
from all over, right?
So
So
just in case people are wondering, we're from northeastern New Jersey.
yeah,
So if you're in the
yeah,
area, hit us up.
which is a very rich area, has a lot of wealthy people, very well connected, you know, area in the world. and it's one of the most populated and condensed
Yep.
areas too.
Million people in that one county. Yep.
Yeah, and all different types of people from around the world live in this area. So it's like we're essentially a melting pot of our own in this area. So there's a lot of opportunities, but really what I was saying is that there's the people that I know, it's either they're left or they're right.
Yep.
And the people who are full blown Trump, they think like they're like Trump's like buddy. Like they think like Trump would
Yeah.
let them in their house. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if they were outside Trump's house, like he would let them in. Like no, he wouldn't let you in. Like you're not like what type of like spell are you under to
Yeah.
think like this guy is gonna save
And
you?
here's the crazy thing is I understand it because people are just, especially young men like us, because they're pretty much most young men, right? Voted red or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like people are just yearning for masculinity figures, like a savior,
right.
to come and be like that father figure. I think what would you? I guess it would be deemed tough guy politics. That's like what Trump is doing. It's like
Hmm.
flexing his muscles, being like, "We're going to come in here, we're going to take it over." It's like, we're going to take Greenland and Canada and rename
Yeah,
the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of
yeah,
America. Tough guy politics, like
yeah,
China better not mess with all this stuff.
yeah,
So
like a bunch of nonsense.
yeah,
It's like we're watching a movie and these people are falling in love with the characters.
yeah, and that's what he is. He's a movie star. He's funny. Politics aside, and I know this guy's like an elite. Like he's
Hmm.
funny.
Yeah, he is funny.
He's a freaking good actor. He's
Yeah,
funny.
he comes
He
from
makes
Hollywood.
me, dude. I could just hear him talk and I laugh because he's funny.
Yeah, I give Trump that he is a funny motherfucker.
He is.
He is funny. Like he
He,
can.
dude, he's the funniest politician that to ever
Yeah,
exist. It's not even close.
because he just doesn't care, and that's like what's crazy. He just
But
doesn't care.
it's by design, of course. He's supposed to be a polarizing, charismatic guy.
Exactly.
Just like
Exactly.
Biden's character, which we all know that wasn't really probably Joe Biden this entire time.
Exactly.
It's like a
Exactly.
freaking blow up
Yes,
dummy.
Sleepy Joe. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like, one day he's like woke, and the next day he's like half asleep. Like, come on.
yeah. What was the video of him running like to the camera? Was that when Trump got the assassination attempt when he like jogged
Mm,
up to the camera
I
and he
don't
like
remember
looked
that.
really good? And people were
Yeah,
like, "Yo, how did he just jog and look really good like that?"
I don't remember that. I gotta look that. I gotta
Okay, yeah,
see that.
maybe that's like an older video for sure. I think it was
Yeah.
after the Trump assassination or something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
anyway,
mean, yeah.
but dude,
Yes.
yeah, Biden's role was to be the babbling buffoon, and it was
Mhm.
funny, dude. And that's why people wanted. That's why this red wave happened because it
Mhm.
was deliberately done for the liberals to just look so stupid and
Exactly.
psychotic and just crazy.
Yeah.
And people
And
were
then.
just tired of it. So as a result, everyone was like, "All right, you know what? The rational thing and logical thing is just to bring Trump back in, so that we can have some sense of normalcy or get
Right.
back to traditional roots or whatever."
Right.
And there's some glimpses of that right now
Yeah.
because of him just coming in.
Yeah.
So again, it's I think it's really interesting how we see this like abandonment of the woke of the left, and now it's like everyone's supporting Trump. Everyone who hated him now loves him, and we know obviously these celebrities that it's part of his script. It's all by design that
Right.
that they're switching and trying to make Trump look more like a good guy now.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course. And they're paid off. It's like then a lot of these people they might not agree with Trump. They probably hate Trump, but they're paid off. Like Snoop Dogg was like you just we saying earlier. Snoop Dogg was talking mad junk about Trump in the first election. Now he's performing with him. You think he
yeah,
really wanted to do that? No, they forced him to do that because he sold his soul. Like all these people sold out, and they have to do what they're told. So if they tell you, "Hey, we need you to go show up at the Trump rally," you got to go do it.
oh yeah,
Because they're these people are the same people who cut their checks, who write all their
yep,
checks. So it's like I feel bad for them because it's like their lives are legit manipulated and controlled. Like they do not have free will. And that's the downside of having so much money in this world. You don't have free will to spend it because the system itself is controlled. The money system itself, the Federal Reserve, it's not real. The fact that they put value on a piece of paper and said this has value, and the more pieces of paper you have, the more value you have. It's made up. It's fairy tale.
yeah,
You know, real
yeah,
value is your skills. Real value is the relationships that you have, the knowledge and information that you have. That's real value. So it's like if you have some type of skill and I have a skill, and we can trade and we can help each other out. That's real value and that's wealth. And
Oh yeah.
and and this world we've been conditioned to think chasing a paper, imaginary piece of paper is wealth, and that paper is soon going to collapse.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. There's people out there because it's I mainly hear this from Kevin that are like because he'll tell them what I say about like money collapsing and all that, and they're always like, no, that can't happen. And like even my dad has said this one time that like I don't think that could happen. And like I'm just my parents aren't awake.
Yeah.
That my parents are very nice people. They're more like Democrat leading. They're very nice
Yeah.
people, but
Yeah. Same.
they're not really aware. It's funny today when I saw them. They were actually telling me that we're seeing what you were talking about a lot of the stuff when you were younger that you were talked about. You ended up being right, and we really respect that you stuck to your beliefs. This and that. And they actually told me that, and they're like, yeah, we would mean to tell you that we see what you're talking about with politics, this and that with the dating and like the Hollywood stuff with feminizing men, and, like how they like, everything's gay and trans in Hollywood, and how they always like put down men and all that stuff. Because obviously there's agendas behind it. But anyway, yeah, they said it. So, and it was good to see because I know my parents are smart people. It's just the problem is, they go to work right, and then they spend the majority of their time in front of TV, and that's how the boomers, Gen Xers really got programmed and socially conditioned, engineered, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
and that was through TV. And now with us, and especially the younger generation, all social media. Like,
Right.
people don't want to be Hollywood actors anymore. They want to be streamers. They want to be social
Hmm.
media influencers, right? In a way, that's true for me, right? Like not that I want to be like super famous, but like I want to be like I want to have a presence and be in the truth community,
Hmm.
um, and make videos. Is there a sense of like narcissism to that? Maybe, but you have to have some confidence in
Yeah.
life.
Of course. Yeah.
Having a sense of narcissism is healthy sometimes. And
Yeah.
what I don't like, what I get mad at, especially I see this more on Twitter than anything. All these truth accounts, right? Some of them will be very on point with what they say, and it's just they don't show themselves, like they don't have any links to anything. So all they do is just tweet, and I'm just like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
It
how do
just
you know these are real people?
some of them aren't. Like what we were saying a little bit when I saw you in Jersey City that time is
Yeah.
like the psyops right now are getting deep. They're getting technical, and it's like the
Yeah.
truth community has been infiltrated like heavily. I would say
Hmm.
ever since COVID. It's
Yeah.
like
There's agents everywhere.
yeah, and funny enough, there's some accounts, and I noticed there'll be like girls, but I don't know, they look like the porn bot girls, but they'll be just
Yeah.
tweeting truth and like it's like on point,
Yeah.
and like I'm just like whoa, but they'll have like 40,000 followers or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh? And they'll have a couple of pictures of them, and it's like a good-looking woman, but like they look like a porn bot almost. Like I
Right.
don't know, it's
Right.
like very superficial looking.
Yeah. There is AI behind a lot of these accounts. That's part of Elon's whole X agenda too. Once he took over,
Yeah,
the amount of AI accounts just went crazy. Like I would say, like maybe like 25% of my followers on Twitter are like AI accounts. I'm just like, how, like, who's behind all this stuff, And it's just, and then you see them, they're engaging in comments, they're starting arguments, like they're that intelligent where they can start arguments where left and right will fight about shit. So it's like, man, we're deep in the matrix. Like we are deep. Like that movie, The Matrix, with what's that dude's name? Uh, what's the guy from John Wick? His name is blanking. Um, anyway,
Keanu Reeves.
yeah, Keanu Reeves. Yeah, we are deep in that movie right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
It's
know,
really deep right now because again, ever since COVID, the truth community's been hijacked in many ways.
right? Yeah.
It's like here's the thing. There's like I was saying, people are if they see past politics, that they either go down the route of organized religion, which is let's not focus on anything in this life and try to change anything. Let's just focus on the next
Right, right.
right? And it's like let's submit to a savior, and it's a fairy tale. Ultimately. Let's say Christianity. The whole Bible. It's not wrong. It's not that it's a lie or like there's nothing to learn from it. Like I
Right.
read the whole Bible and it's very inspiring the stuff Jesus Christ said and his
Hmm.
teachings and all that and what he represents. But it's like they don't really want to try to change anything.
Right.
People It's like we can't, everything's already written. We win in the end, right, with God, and like everything's written, so don't even try.
Right, right. That's the agenda, you know.
Yeah, and that's the agenda with
Mhm.
organized religion, of course. And then,
Mhm.
or it's they go down the really extreme far right, which is, oh, we have to get Trump back in office. Trump's going to save everything. And
Mhm.
even if they get past the Trump part of it, then it's like they fall down the rabbit hole of the JQs typically, where it's like, oh, the JQs are the one, running everything. Which is, I mean, I get why they say it. They're not wrong, but they're also not entirely correct.
Mhm.
Right? They don't realize that, like, okay, Zionists, all the Jesuits, whoever, Freemasons, it's like they're all working together.
Exactly.
They might be different secret societies, but they have the same goal,
Right.
right? And they're all working together. And really, in the end of the day, it's like we control everything. The people, you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
People always like, well, who controls everything? It's really the people, and then
Yeah.
we're only getting away because we don't do anything. Our people just don't
Exactly.
try. That's the simple part of it. And
Exactly. And I think what it needs, it's like, again, like you said, we have the power because we have the power in numbers. There's billions of us, and there's only a few hundred that of them that really control the world. You know, so if the difference is they operate in a pyramid scheme, a pyramid system where they take orders from the top and
yep,
it trickles down. Whereas our side, we don't have any type of agenda, any type of game plan. We don't have any type of coach. You know, we're a team without a coach. We're a team without a quarterback. So it's like, how do we come up with the best quarterback system to govern this team? And that's what, you know, the future generation is going to have to figure out, because right now this political system is not the way to go. In America it's not, because we're putting the same guys left and right, two wings on the same bird.
yep.
Get this bird out of here, kill this bird, throw this bird in the lake of fire.
I think the issue is people can't imagine a world without government. Like people think we need government. People think we
Right,
need the left and the right.
right,
It's the same way people think we need money. And
right.
I understand why. It's definitely it would be weird to think about it because we're so used to it. But
Hmm. And I think we do need a government. We need a governing system, but it has to be done like a council. Like, it's like a council of states that come together that represent, you know, the population. You know, if there's 50 states, everyone has a representative that comes, and we make decisions as a whole, majority vote. You know, this whole, I don't even know how the whole political system even works. How some states have more power in their votes than other states. Like, that's such nonsense to me. Like, keep it black and white. Majority vote. The more people that vote on this side, that's what's gonna win. But the thing is, it's like you got to make sure we instill a system that's educating the youth, educating people on how to
yeah,
have discernment, how to be a caring person, how to think logical, critical thinking. We're
yeah,
not doing that. Our school systems are so out of order that
uh,
we're training people to just be followers and
yeah.
not
We have
thinkers
no
and
moral
innovators.
code.
What'd you
we have
say?
no we have no moral code. That's the biggest
Yeah,
thing.
right. There's no moral. So you
We
can't
don't we
have.
don't know right from wrong.
Right, right. So there needs to be a council that's created out of a moral group of human beings. You know, people who have decency. You know, and we used to be a country that had a population where people had decency at a certain point. You know, but when you create the United States, it was created out of slavery. It was already set up to be bad. You know, like, this country was made on the backs of slaves. And honestly, I believe it. They like to say the slaves came from Africa. No, the slaves are already here. The black people who were enslaved, they're already here. Africans were already trading with the North American people way before the Europeans came along. So it's like they just came along, enslaved them, you know, gave them diseases, killed them off, and that's how America started. And that's the reason why we are 250 years later, we are in this position that we are right now, where it's a boiling point, where people are at each other's necks. And really, it's, I think the solution, you know, is to educate the youth, educate people who are misinformed about history. Tell them the real history. Tell them what really happened, how this country really came about. It wasn't Christopher Columbus. It wasn't George Washington. It was none of these people who created America. It was the Illuminati. It was the Jesuits. It was the Freemasons. They're the ones that came together and created this country. Now, this country was created by our founding fathers to be a actual, you know, it was supposed to be a sovereign nation at first, but the infiltration of Freemasonry, the infiltration by the Illuminati, these are the things that took this country over. You know, once these secret societies came out of the dark and put their plants into these organizations, that's when these things went wrong. It's just like Babylon and ancient Egypt and ancient Sumer. There were great empires that they basically got destroyed from within, you know, and we're watching the same thing happen today. It's just we're in a different time. It's like history is repeating itself, you know, and that's what my thing is like we need to learn the real history of the world. Like I want to know what the hell happened on this planet thousands of years ago. You
Yeah.
know, I don't care about what really happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago. What happened thousands of years ago? How is civilization like thousands and hundreds of thousands of years ago? How the hell did those pyramids get here? Who built those pyramids? Was it aliens? Was it some type of extraterrestrial? Or did we have an advanced civilization that was able to create pyramids and great structures around the world? Because
Yeah.
we know that these ancient Egyptians, they had great technology that has been hidden from us. The power of alchemy, the power of gold, all the things that they were messing around with. The fact that they even figured out how to have air conditioning in ancient Egypt was is mind blowing. You know, like the limestone to create those pyramids, or these things came from 900 miles away from where Egypt is. So how did they get those stones over all the way there through a desert? How did they do that? Did they have advanced technology that's being hidden away from us? It's
Did you ever hear the theory about the frequencies that they use to move the rocks or
yeah,
whatever?
yeah,
They
yeah,
have frequencies or whatever.
hmm
Technology, there's like technology or whatever.
yeah.
How does that theory go? Do you know?
I mean, I gotta like do my, I gotta go back and look into it again. But a lot of it has to do with just um, really the earth, the vibrations, sound frequency, vibrations of when things hit like tapping noises and different types of frequencies. But look at Nikola Tesla and his work. That's the same thing. Those were frequencies he was messing around with, free energy. There was a thing called the Oregon accumulator, which was like a box that like people sat in, and it healed you of any disease that was in your body. It just got rid of all the diseases. Like this is all dealing with frequency and vibrations, and people don't know about this stuff. And a lot of this stuff was axed by the powers that be
Yep.
to keep a system in place. The healthcare industry, to keep people sick. The energy, the oil companies, they didn't want Tesla's inventions around because they want to make money off of energy, and all this stuff. So, I want to know before it seems like there was a dark age that happened like 3, 4, 500 years ago, and I want to know what happened before that dark age. I want to know, where did all these ancient civilizations come from? How did they get their information? Like, they had spiritual leaders in these tribes. They're shamans. The shamans were like a big thing. Shamans were basically like today's pastors. Preachers and people who are like religious leaders. Shamans were that back in the day, and they killed the church killed all the shamans because these spiritual leaders in the communities, they were connecting with the spiritual realm and giving back information on, if there was a disease in the village, they would get information from the spiritual realm and learn how to like get rid of this thing, just problem solvers, right? um I want to know more about these type of things.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
Yeah,
and I
human origins would be a very interesting thing. I
yeah
think about that a lot too,
yeah
because
and
really
it's
the only blueprint we have is the story of Adam and Eve, and
right.
you could take that in many ways, like translate that how you want.
Exactly. And it's like the oldest story is the flood story, Noah's flood. So it's like we know the Noah's flood translation is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which comes from ancient Sumer.
Yeah,
And these are just
you should
stories
look
that
into something. You should write it down before I forget. But there's a presentation by Mark Passio. Remember, I asked if you said you heard of him. I think I asked you in Jersey City. Uh,
yeah.
he has something called Cosmic Abandonment, which is about human origins.
Uh-huh.
Which you should definitely check it out because
Hmm.
that sounds like something you'd be very interested in because he goes over like the Bible and like how he's like. Have you ever heard how the theory? Well, not really a theory, but that the Bible is actually a book of science. Like
Yeah.
everything is like metaphors
Yeah, of course.
and all that
It's
stuff. Yeah,
yeah, allegories, yeah.
yeah. So he was talking about Genesis and human creation and like translating words and all this stuff. It was very interesting.
Hmm.
You should definitely look into it. But it seems he was basically describing that we descend from extraterrestrials beings.
Yeah.
That the Earth is like a farm. That's like what it is. Like they're working with the powers that be to just keep us enslaved and all this stuff. Do whatever they want to us.
Right.
So have you ever heard about that before?
Well, it sounds like that's the Anunnaki theory. And
Yeah, Anunnaki. Yep, that's what it is.
yeah, I've read all about Anunnaki, and there's a lot of good information out there. The Emerald tablets, and all these. What is it called? The ancient sea scrolls, Dead Sea Scrolls. There's so much information. It does get a little confusing because the translations have been, they're kind of shaky, but it does tell a good story. I think there is truth to it. What I know personally is that 1% of our DNA is not from us.
Yeah,
Somehow, some way, like there's 99% of us comes from Earth, but there's 1% that's not. And I would like to know what that is, and the Anunnaki theory pretty much kind of sums that up, that
yeah,
we are, a product of intelligent beings that created us to slave away for them, and Earth is really a farm. It would make sense, just to see how like things are being done here and and how the world
yeah.
is being governed.
I want to ask you, what do you think about flat Earth and the theory also of like continents beyond the ice wall and the firmament? What do you
so
think about all that?
so the flat Earth community is really crazy
They
because
are, yeah. Oh
they're
yeah, I
they're
follow some of them on X. I unfollowed
yeah
a lot, but like, man,
yeah they're like
very
they're
volatile, man.
they're like bugged out. But
Yeah,
what I will say is that first, I don't think the Earth is flat. At a certain degree, like I was like back in the day, I was kind of thinking about like maybe it is because they do lie, But the
yeah.
Earth is not flat.
I used to really love the flat Earth theory. I thought it was really interesting. And
Yeah,
like the firmament, I used to love because I think I told you I came kind of like from that Christian. That's like
right.
what my awakening was. It kind of came from like a lot of truthers in the Christian community
Yeah.
who to this day I still watch and like I don't agree with obviously everything they say, but I
Hmm.
still watch them to this day. But yeah, a
Right.
lot of them spoke about flat Earth. I've seen so many videos about flat Earth, and it's very convincing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Keep
I,
talking. I'm just
yeah,
getting water. So keep
yeah.
talking.
It's fun to entertain the idea. One thing I will say about flat Earth is that I do like the idea that there is more land beyond what we're being told. Now, again, I don't think the Earth is flat, but I do think there's land out there that's not being told. I think there's islands out there that we don't know about
For
that could
sure.
have like you ever see what's that movie King Kong, where there's a whole island of giant animals. Like, who's to say that's not the case? Who's to say like beyond the ice wall? I do think there's an ice wall. I personally do think there's some type of ice wall. Who's to say beyond those ice walls there isn't other land out there? The theory that I think the flat Earth community should go into is the hollow Earth theory. That's the one theory that actually
Oh
has
yeah,
legs to it.
I've heard of that. What exactly is
Hollow
that?
Earth is basically like it has to do with the Antarctica and how there's been people who said that there's a giant hole in Antarctica that has like lush land, and when you go in there it's like the Garden of Eden basically. And inside the earth it's not just magma and rock, it's actual like life, it's plants, it's like there's people down there, like ancient civilizations, there's giant animals, and could be also aliens or whatever type of beings. They're the ones who really govern the world, the surface world.
Yeah,
So I think that has more legs to be true than flat earth. Because flat earth, what are you going to do with flat earth? Like that should, like, all right, the earth is flat, then what?
it
you
really
know
just fits the biblical theory that God exists,
right, right,
because that's really the theory, right? Like that's why NASA's lying
right,
because they're trying to hide God and the Project Bluebeam fake alien deception
right,
and
right.
all that stuff. So
Right. And
yeah,
it's fun to talk about that, but I think flat earth should move to hollow earth because then you can actually do research. You can actually move on the ground and find out, it's like flat earth, we can't fly, we can't go outside our atmosphere and figure and look at the earth. So Hollow Earth, we can actually explore. We can send teams of people to Antarctica. We can go into the deep jungles and find things. We can dive into the oceans and figure out what is in our oceans. And my whole mission with music has been about the discovery of our oceans and the planet. My name, if you can see, is Shammy Deep. It's really a triple entendre of different meanings, but one of the meanings of that is I want to dive deep into the world. I want to dive deep into the oceans and see what's in there. There's a whole world out there that we don't know. 90% of the oceans is unexplored. There's so many things that could be in there that would
that's really
tell us
scary.
about
That's really scary to think about,
it.
right?
It is scary because, bro, you think about how big the oceans are. It's crazy, bro. It's absolutely crazy. It's basically like thinking about how big space is because it's endless. You don't know how deep it goes. So my thing is, why are we not using our resources? Why isn't Elon Musk using his billions of dollars that he sends rockets out our atmosphere, make robots that can go deep into our oceans and and observe the ocean grounds? Every time we send a team of people in the ocean, they always come up with a new species. They always find like new shit they've never seen before. Like, that's the stuff that I'm interested in. Why? Because I can actually walk and go to a beach and swim in the ocean. I can't fly in the space and see the earth. God didn't create me to do that. He didn't create any of us to have wings to fly, but we do have the ability to swim. So all of and we can walk. So why can't we go and have people pay people, send teams of people to scavenge the earth, figure out what's on this planet, go to the jungles, go in down into the depths of the planet. That's what I think the world should be on, because I think if we find out more about this planet, we'll find out more about our history, and we'll understand what really this life is all about. You look at, again, I think there's land outside of the maps that they've shown us,
Hmm.
and they're always pushing this agenda that, oh, the earth is overpopulated. The earth is not overpopulated. There
Yeah,
is so much land out here. If we just spread out and got out of these major cities that were just bunching all these people together, everyone would have land. Like, there's
think
so
about
much land.
New Jersey. We live in the most populated state
Exactly.
in the country.
Bro, there's so much land out here that each and every single person on the planet could own an acre of land and there would still be more space for
Yeah,
us to maneuver. Imagine if we were legally all given an acre of land to do whatever we want. There would still be so much more space for us to have. So, like, that's my thing. It's like people are got their mind on the wrong things. People think Trump is gonna be this guy to save them from whatever the hell they think the agenda is.
Yeah,
Like I'm like, yo, you people are so twisted in the mind.
yeah.
Like where are you coming
And
up with this
also, let's
nonsense?
talk briefly about the people, let's say, who maybe they understand a little bit that politics is a sham, or let's just say better yet, because I think this is most people. They're just not political. Like they're not paying attention to it. Like they don't really
Yeah,
care because
yeah,
they see like, oh well, people just fight over it, so I don't want to like get involved. I don't care who the president is. It doesn't affect my life. But
right.
then they'll say like, because a lot of the times it's truth, right? With what I say. Well, what's the point of me knowing it? How's my life going to change? What's the
Hmm.
difference? And it just goes to it's like this. It's like saying someone who's never been to the gym, right? Well, what's the point of me going? Like I'm happy with how I look.
Hmm.
What's the point of me going? Like I don't want like basically saying they don't want to change.
Hmm.
So how can we get people who like think that their life isn't going to change or they don't see a point in looking into truth or they think it's all dark? How do we get them to realize like, hey, this is really important and your life and your future and if you plan to have kids or anything like that, it's like this is the future right here. How do you get them to take this stuff more serious? Do you think?
Well, like you just said, this is the future. So, what do you want your future to be? You know, we have been given life here on this planet for who knows how many years we've been given. Everyone dies at a different age. We're not all going to live forever. So all of us are going to die eventually. Some of us young, some of us old, some of us right in the middle. So what do you want your life legacy to be? When you die, when you leave this world, what's your legacy? What's your stamp on this world? What's your signature that you've ingrained on the earth and into people's minds? How are people going to remember you?
Yeah,
I think that people need to think about that. Are people going to remember
that's why
that?
I started making content. I'm sure maybe you
Hmm.
could say same for yourself because even though it's obviously better to do stuff in person. It's just I don't know. I feel like I've tried, especially in this new town that I lived in, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. People just fall down the path of religion or the far right.
Yeah,
Just got to get Trump back in. This and that. Trump is going to take out the new world order and all this stuff. So
yeah,
that's the issue I faced here, and
right.
so yeah, it's like I'm sorry, keep going. But what do we? I guess how do we get people to take it more serious? Is I guess we just have to get people to realize like, hey, like even just something with like their money, right? How you understand you shouldn't be paying an income tax. You shouldn't be
Right,
paying any taxes. But
right,
I mean, let's talk about where it hits you the most, which is your hard-earned money.
right.
Um,
Yeah, like the taxes. Like I'm not gonna say like I don't agree with taxes. First of all, I do think taxes are wrong, but it's wrong because we don't have a say in it. I think taxes would be good if we had a say in where it goes, because then your money is being funneled to help a certain community or an area in the world that needs it. Yeah, I think taxes is good for that reason. But when we don't have a say in where our taxes goes, that's when it's wrong. And then when the richest people in the world don't have to pay taxes, that's when it's wrong. The people at the bottom who have no money have to pay half of their salary when Bill Gates and all these other guys, they don't have to pay anything. They get off around the system by creating nonprofits. See, that's where it's wrong. And I think that if we abolish that system, there will be, some reforms to happen. But getting back to what your question was, I think again, people need to realize that one, the money system is a fraud. Federal Reserve, all a fraud. So get away from the idea of just waking up every day to chase a dollar, to chase a check, because that's not what your life and your purpose is meant to be here on earth. No matter what your parents say or what your family or whoever around you says, getting up just to work a job is not the ultimate goal in life.
it's horrible, man, because I was telling my parents this. It's because it's hard, even on a personal side, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that we're just in this generation where it's hard to make friends, it's hard to find
Hmm.
intimate relationships. We're all just very disconnected and not interacting much with each other,
Hmm.
right? And because we're so I forgot what we were talking about. What was I saying?
Like taxes and working a job and you know
Oh yeah, so with the job, yes, I was telling my parents that yeah, so it's just sad because I don't have much going on besides I make videos. Obviously, that gives me purpose,
right.
but that's just me. But I was telling them like it's just sad to think that I just like I'm in sales, right? I just make cold calls, send emails. I'm like, man, this is just like miserable. How do people just like settle for this, or like how does this like how do people think this is life? You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right,
it's not for someone like me because like I'm like forced into doing it. I really don't want to,
right,
but it's like how else am I supposed to afford to live here? How else am I supposed to pay like my car insurance? Just like
right,
food on the table. It's because obviously with YouTube, I don't make any money.
right.
Uh,
Me,
I've had
same.
people, I've had people in the past actually offer to donate, but I said no. I'm like,
Hmm.
but yeah, maybe there'll come a point where people will donate, and that actually would really help me out, especially with like better equipment, so I can make better content if people really care what I
Hmm.
have to say, what we have to say.
Right.
But yeah, it's sad because and again, what I was saying, I speak for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are lonely, miserable, and feel like they have no purpose in life, especially guys our age, because I think a lot of guys just they go to work, maybe they go to the gym,
Hmm.
but they don't do much. Like they're not engaged, they're not connecting with people.
Exactly.
Put it that way.
Yeah, and even if they are like connecting in like let's say a work environment or a business environment,
It's work. It's not. You're not talking about personable things. Like the dude I
right?
work with, right? Like we do sometimes talk about personal stuff, but I would never be able to have this conversation because what is he like? He's very more so in the matrix. He's a Trump
Hmm.
guy,
Hmm.
So he's just right. Everything Trump is doing, he's about, So
Right, right. And that's the problem. It's like you said, we're not connecting on a deeper level, you know. And I think if more people connected on a deeper level, we would have more understanding, and we would have
big
more.
issue is some people just don't have the competency to do it. Like some
Yeah,
people, some people will view what we're talking about as very dark. As they just don't
right.
want to think this way.
Yeah, they're in like a baby way of thinking. Like, oh, I just want to play video games. I just want to go to the bar and drink and listen to all this nonsense music. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a bunch of nonsense, and it's like I think a lot of people they don't have purpose in life. They haven't found like their divine purpose, and that's what's keeping them dormanted in this what in the matrix to just accept the junk food, to accept the sex and the alcohol, the drugs, the medium paying job. Like they just living in to just survive, and they're like, you know what? As long as I can get high and I can have a couple dollars to, eat some food, some trash junk food, and what I
Yeah,
mean. I can have sex with my girlfriend or boyfriend, and I'm okay. And that's like a selfish way of thinking because your divine purpose is way greater than that, you know. And I believe in a higher power. I don't know what the name is. I don't know what you call it. I don't know where
yeah,
it
yeah,
comes from. But I think that we were all created to do something great, and all of us are connected. Every single one of us are connected. I don't think it's an accident that every single human being alive is on this planet at the same time for a reason. I think there is a reason why we're all here. It's not by chance that we're all here and we're not connected. It's like we're part of a big web, a consciousness, a web of consciousness, and all of us have wires and lanes connecting to each other. So how do we come together and find out what our purpose is to connect? You know, I think that's the way to do it. If I'm for me, I do music. If I'm really, in tune with my purpose and of music and I do it at a high level, I'm gonna connect with people around the world who resonate with what I'm doing because we're the same. Consciously, we are all the same. I think we're all coming from the same conscious pool. So my idea that I have, somewhere you had that same idea. It's just I'm able to get it because I'm in a different frequency. I'm in a different area, but you still have access to that idea. It's like if I make a song and a melody and it's really catchy and it's really good, that melody came to me and I put it out in the world. I manifest in the world. You recognize that melody and you're like, wow, this melody really connects and resonates with me. That's the same idea that you could have had. It's just I'm in a different frequency to do it. My mind and my body's trained to bring that information and put it out. You might have an idea, a way of thinking, or a way of speaking that I can't get to, but you can get it and you can put it out into the world better than I can do it. And I think like it works around the clock. Like if Sally down the street, she can cook a cake better than me and you can, well then let her do it. I'm not gonna try to bake a cake because I don't know what I'm doing, but this girl, she can bake cakes better than anybody on the block. She got that talent. She had the idea that manifested through her, and she put it out into the world. And I think that's how we're all connected. Consciousness is crazy because it's like I think it's separate from the brain. I think consciousness, is way different than the brain, the physical brain. Like animals, they're conscious to a certain degree. But then, certain animals, like that's the one thing we have to study. It's like how deeply related are we to the animal kingdom? If you look at
Share
ants,
DNA with like all the animals,
right, right. Like if you look at all the ants,
and
ants
that
work.
that comes from the what was it called, the Anunnaki?
Yeah,
Theory,
yeah.
because the Anunnakis were like made the animals, or they're related to the animals.
And that's the thing,
How the
like
theory goes.
yeah, it's something like that. And it's like I think that, well, from what I read about the Anunnaki is that they believe that they were also created by a higher power too. Now, it makes sense that if the higher power, God or whatever, if they created us, then God would create other beings too. God would create, Anunnaki, God would create, animals and this and that. So I think that like God created everything, and then like,
Yeah. I
it,
always thought animals were so interesting, how they're just so hardwired to nature, but then a human you can like basically engineer to be a certain way,
right,
completely socially condition someone to act a certain way. But when it comes to a dog, right, or a cat, like they're just wired to their nature. Like
right,
you can't change like how they are. You know,
right. Yeah,
they
like
might
like
have they might act a little different in some ways. Maybe one's more friendly, more shy, or whatever.
right, right.
They're gonna act like a dog's gonna act like a dog no matter what.
Yeah. No, that's a good point because
So
it's
I
like
always thought that was interesting about animals.
yeah, you're right. Because they are, tuned to their environment. It's like uh, uh all animals want to mate. That's their animal urge is
Yeah,
to
and they're
mate.
not, they don't do it out of pleasure. It's like it's just that's how
It's
you create life. That's how you keep it
e-
going.
exactly, and that's the whole thing with humans. We're the same way. We need to be mating with each other. We need to be having human connection with each other. That's
Yep,
how we keep us going.
yep.
But we've
And
taken
obviously,
it
right now, as we've been talking throughout this, we're very disconnected,
right.
which plays into depopulation, which plays to why most of us are single, most people aren't married, most people
Hmm.
are not having kids and all that stuff.
Right, right. Yeah,
Um,
and it's so expensive to be in a relationship these days, man. It's like,
well,
for me,
it's because a lot of women too, like they have been brainwashed into the princess syndrome, or they
hmm
feel like if you're going to go on a couple of dates, you got to spend a minimum amount of money. This isn't all women, of course, but
right, yeah, yeah.
it's it's tough to date out here, especially in the United States, man. I don't know if you've ever been out of the country or dated foreign women, but
I wish that's my goal.
dude, foreign women, like I'm a celebrity outside the in the United States, I'm invisible.
Yeah,
If I put my location, let's say on Tinder, in anywhere in Central America, South America, the Asias, like, dude, I'm a celebrity. It's crazy.
yeah,
Now,
that's amazing.
some people might say, oh, they just look the gold digger or whatever. You know what's crazy
Mm-hmm.
about all these girls, no matter where they're from, bro? They all are in college or went to college, and they all
Mm-hmm.
have a job. So it's like, I feel like what's happened with women, like in this day and age, is that whole gold digger thing is actually kind of looked down upon now. Like there are obviously girls who are gold diggers and shit, but
Yeah, right.
it's like it's more looked down upon now. It's like a woman is supposed to be independent and like have a education or a certificate or whatever, and
Yeah.
have a job and not be dependent on a man. That's kind of like how it is now. So that's also why we're divided, because think
hmm
about like our parents were like, I don't know, like I don't know if it's because our mom subconsciously wanted to rely on a guy, or they trying to secure their future, or it was just a thing back then to get married and
Right,
stay
right.
together. That's the important thing. Is like,
Yeah,
because the divorce rate is what, 70% right now, which is
yeah.
crazy.
It's insane.
So yeah, it's really deep. The depopulation, it goes so deep. There's so
hmm
many ways they've done it, and dividing us through gender, through friendships, even through community.
Yeah,
Um,
brainwash.
Stuff they put in our food that's
Yeah.
bad, in our water, the frequency,
Microplastics.
yeah, the frequencies from the internet,
Yep. Yeah.
our phones, everything, man. It's
Yeah.
all to Bluetooth. It's all to mess around with your reproductive
Yeah.
uh, organs or whatever.
Yeah. And that's why I don't keep my phone in my pocket. I don't like my phone doesn't go in my pocket at all. I either hold it or I'm like putting it in a bag somewhere, if I'm carrying it. Because all those frequencies, those radiation, it's going to our bodies and it's having an effect on us. And we might not feel it right now, but I believe years to come, we're gonna have some type of effects from the
Yeah,
cell phones and the radiations.
yeah.
Um, but
Like
yeah,
honestly, like our friend Kevin, right, who just had a kid last January. It's like
mhm,
that's actually a miracle that
right,
he had a kid because I feel like not all and another part of depopulation is even if people are mating, they're making it harder, right? Because
right,
both the sexes have been messed around with. Women aren't as fertile. Same with men, and most men. Let's be real, and I guess you could say the same for women. But most people don't really take care of themselves, right? Most
right,
people aren't exercising. Most people don't eat healthy, which
hmm,
plays a role in your sex drive and your reproductive health. I'm sure a lot of guys, especially overly masturbate, watch porn,
hmm,
and all that stuff. So,
right. It's
so you know,
conditioning, yeah.
yeah, all these things, to mess with us, and
Mhm.
I guess a lot of people again, like it's like I was saying, people view it as dark, maybe what we're talking about, but it's true, and
Some
we can ignore these things, we could, but it's like we're getting older, and
Man, it's 2025, man. There's no more time to ignore these type of conversations.
yeah, because it's affecting my life, like on
Yeah,
all levels, financially,
right,
personally, with people, with the opposite sex, like
right,
uh, basically what the powers that be have done to young men is they've taken any sort of purpose away from us. Like there is nowhere in society really for young men,
exactly.
especially me being a white guy, straight white guy. People, especially more left leaning people, would view that me as privileged. Like I'm
Hmm.
privileged. I have no idea what it's like to struggle or this or that, or like I'm viewed as like I'm for some reason someone in this world who just gets opportunities left and right
Yeah,
because of
right,
how I look.
right.
Um, and but not even just that. It's anything like there's all this toxic masculinity like that's been spoken about, um, and a lot of this stuff that's really demonized the men. And I can speak on just growing up, I guess, kind of hearing the stories about a lot of men sexually assault, they rape this and that, and this is a very small amount of men, but it's like
Hmm.
what the left does in particular, especially with women, is they like to paint it as all men, and if they go extremely far left, there's misandry, and I'm
Hmm.
sure you've heard of that, right? Which is
Hmm.
basically like misogyny, and I find it really interesting that I would say ever since 2020, there is this huge like misogyny awakening, right? With red pill content. Have you ever watched like red pill dating content on
I've
YouTube? Or
seen it. I don't pay attention to it, but yeah.
okay, I used to really indulge in it, dude, and it started from a breakup in 2020, and when I was 22,
Hmm.
um, and like I was just curious, right? Like I never ever looked for dating advice before, and I was just like, at that point, that was my third girlfriend. That
Hmm.
it broke up bad, right? And I'm like, all right, I must be doing something wrong. So I looked into it, and I saw like right, just the small things like being too needy, insecure, too available, just very like small things that I had to fix, which definitely helps in the long term. But anyway, I start dating around. I had another girlfriend, bad breakup, and you start indulging in it more because you feel pain. And all this red pill stuff, what it does is it just shifts the blame to women, being like, well, it's because women are this and that. And there's truth to it. It's like there's
Hmm.
problems, obviously, with the modern woman, but they never have you look in the mirror really and say, all right, well, and they're not talking about truth, that's for sure. They're not talking about the actual truth. They might talk surface level, right wing talking points type truth because they've blended, the masculinity stuff, the red pill with being a conservative and all that.
Right, right.
Um, but I find it interesting how you had this really big. It was basically the antithesis to feminism, right? Because you've been hearing about feminism for decades and this women's empowerment, the Me Too movement, and now this misogyny stuff came in, this red pill stuff. Anyway, I used to watch it a lot, right? And it makes you dislike women. It makes you become a psychopath. It makes you become very manipulative towards women because the stuff you learn from them, I mean, you could really use it to your advantage because the modern woman is conditioned to like psychopaths.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's the unfortunate truth. Like
Yeah.
when you ask the modern woman, like, what do you look for in a guy? Like, what do you want? They're always gonna say tall, like good looking, like just materialistic things, like good job, all that stuff. They're never gonna. Would you ever hear a girl say, "I want a guy who knows the truth about the Federal Reserve.
Mm.
I want a guy who can answer a simple question where money comes from, or like I don't know, just like it'd be like, oh, I want a guy with good morals. Like you don't really hear that much, and I feel like uh, because also what we were saying before, how women like they have jobs, they have educations now, they really don't need guys besides anything for pleasure and companionship now. It's like they really don't need guys for any survival anymore.
Right. Right.
So um, then you had anyway. The point is, you had misogyny come, and then you have something called misandry, right? Which is very. I would say there's probably more guys that are misogynist than women that are misandrous. And I discovered the whole misandry thing on Twitter. Like, it was like a whole rabbit hole, and like the stuff the women say about men is crazy. Same way, like this, the way that men say stuff about women is crazy as well. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see this gender war, right? How they created the misogyny stuff, and like that's been blended, right, with conservatism.
Yeah.
That so again, dude, it's really interesting how the powers that be blend stuff together and make things political.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just went on a really long rant, and I want to know
No.
what you
No.
think about like that gender war, the blending of those. Like, what do you think about
Yeah.
all that?
It's interesting because, like, for me, I've been mostly single for most of my life. I've been in a couple of relationships, but I've been with like girls, just not on a long term basis.
Yeah.
Nothing more than like 2 years.
Yeah, dude, I've had four girlfriends, right, in my life, and they've all only lasted like a year. Like I've never been in like really long term, and they've all always been around a year. So
Right, right. And like, part of I would say for me, part of it was I'll blame myself because of like, you're a young guy, you go through insecurities and stuff like that. You don't know what you're doing with the women. You're trying to figure out your own personality. Like, and that's just a product of the world that we were coming up in, especially in our generations where social media was just becoming a thing in our adolescent years. So it's like it was messing with our minds like way back then. You had porn, you had social, you had what's it called, Facebook,
yeah,
and
dude, I
you had
remember watching porn like in elementary school. It was just so easy to access. Like
exactly.
friends, we would sneak and
Right, and it's like it's exciting and cool because it's like, wow, we're not supposed to be doing this,
deleted from the
but
internet history.
yeah, like I every guy I know has gone through that. So a lot of that can really mess up your mind and your way of thinking with women. I've again, like I said, I've been with a lot of different girls, had whatever, but I didn't like I hate to use this word. I didn't hold myself around. I've always been selective with the type of woman that I choose to be with, sexually or whatever it is. So um it's weird. It's a weird space because right now I'm single and I'm at an age where if you're not making money, if you're not like having like your whole thing together, women are not going to want to date you. You know what I mean? Like at our age, when in high school, when you're like younger, women will date you just off your looks. If you look good and if you're cool, you're funny, they'll date you just for that. So like it was so much easier to get women back then. Now it's like you need to have X, Y, and Z. You need to have this, you need to be that, and it's going along with these stigmas that is being put out there that hey, men need to be this provider, which I agree, men should be a provider, but don't put such a standard where it's like, hey, you need to be making this amount of money, you need to be, this tall, you need to drive this car. Most men don't have any of that. A lot of us are just barely trying to figure
only
out our own
12% of men.
selves. Well,
Yeah,
say it again.
only 12% of men are 6 feet or tall in the world.
Yeah, right, right. And it's like, all right, at the end of the day, it's like at our age, well, like I'm 28. I think you're 28 too, right?
I
20.
just turned 28. Yeah,
Right. So we're at an age where we're still figuring out our purpose in life. We're still figuring out who we are. Like, I don't have time to be chasing a woman who wants all these things. So that's why a lot of women our age, they date older men because they're in a better position than we are. But right now, it's like we've never seen this in human history where so many human beings are single and are not intimate with each
yeah.
other.
So I always thought about that. Is that true? That because I always estimated, like I never done any research on it, but I always just thought, yo, this is probably we probably have a world record right now, of the most single people ever in human
Right.
history. Because yeah, obviously social media came in. When that came in, that just messed everything up. But it's crazy how it hasn't even been around for 20 years.
I know, and it's
It's done
done this
so
much
much damage.
damage. Exactly. And think about like back in the day, like people would get married before they're even 20 years old. They were having babies before they're even 18 years old. That was just the thing to do, like back in the village days and whatever.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like
You
we
know what?
were.
Yeah.
Go
No,
ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying like that's what our innate human desire is to procreate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, what I was gonna say is what I just find really like what I have a big problem with women today is the ghosting.
Hmm.
Like I'm not trying to like brag or anything, but like I definitely do like go on a lot of dates if I try like if I download a dating app, and unfortunately ever since 2020 again, like I was saying earlier, like most of the women I meet is from online, whether it be that or like social media, whatever.
Hmm.
And it's like, dude, these women like, and people might say, "Oh, it's you," but like, these women just ghost me, bro. It's like a lot of the times, like, and
Yeah.
I can say like, ever since the times I've been single and like I'm going on dates, it's like most of the time, and like I'm guilty of ghosting myself in the past as well. But like,
Hmm.
dude, like I get ghosted most of the time, so
Yeah.
it's like people could be like these girls will have sex with me, dude, and just like ghost me then.
Hmm.
And like just recently too, right? There's a girl literally that I met right in front of my building here. I live in the center of town here. There's a pizza place across the street.
Hmm.
I had some drinks in me. I remember I went to go get pizza, and like I just started talking to this girl. She was like 23. She was this Guatemalan girl, and we ended up hanging out, right?
Hmm.
Like not that night, but a couple of days later, or whatever, like a week later, and it seemed like everything went well, right? She seemed really into me, and dude, like I just haven't heard from her since then.
Right.
And it's just like I saw her on TikTok, right? She popped up like on TikTok. I viewed her page, and like she's posting all these videos of her dancing. Like I texted her twice, right afterwards.
Yeah.
First time she answered, and then like she kind of just stopped. Second time she just hasn't even answered me, and I'm
Hmm.
just like, yo, like this is what I'm saying. I was telling my parents, it's like I keep getting reaffirmed that these girls have really no respect for the modern man. Like they're not even looking for a good man. Like
Right. Right.
they do not. I don't know what they're looking for. Like to be
Right.
honest, like they're
Right.
again, they've been honestly socially engineered to really desire like psychotic men,
Hmm.
like just like emotionally cold psychotic men. So when you display that, unfortunately, they do get wet.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of like it's like almost like guys feel like they have to like play this game almost to like
And
get women because they're realizing that wow, these women they say they want one thing, but what they respond to and who they spread their legs for is like
it's
very
another dude, and it's so true. And you have some people who deny that, but for me, I'll give a personal story. I remember this one girl, right? I was drunk. I met her at a party, and like I was on my game. I was spitting to her, but I was just being a complete douchebag. Like literally the biggest douchebag. And I'm not like that. Like I'm very nice to women, respectful, whatever. But like that night, I was just talking to her crazy. Kind of being way more aggressive, and I end up being in a long relationship with this girl eventually after. But it's like they fall for that. And,
yeah.
and and keep in mind, I smashed that night. The matter I met her too. So it's like they fall for this, and it's like, yo, you don't really want a good guy because you didn't meet me when I was like my normal self. You met me when I was like this
That's why
asshole.
that's
You
why you
know,
ended up being long term because of the way you met. Like it was like very dirty and nasty, like in a like in a sexual way.
and
Like
it's like they're used to like
you met in
men.
person. you didn't meet online, right? You met in
No, it
person.
was in person, and so
Right,
it's
right.
like
That actually goes a long way. I notice people who meet in person stick together longer than people who meet online.
right, right, and it's like it seems like she was used to that type of treatment from a man.
Yeah,
Like kind of treating her a certain way. I remember this one thing, like I wouldn't walk her to the door. I was like, yo, just go. Like her Uber was there. I was like, yo, just go. And she was like, all right. And she was fiending the next day to come see me and talk to me and stuff. So I'm like, yo, like normally if I wasn't like drunk, I would have walked her to the car. You know what I mean? I would open the door for her because that's just how I
yeah.
felt.
Like, dude, this girl, right? That I
Hmm.
was the Guatemalan girl. Like, I walked her home, right? Because she's literally 5 minutes away. And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm sure if I was drunk, like you were saying, like I probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
I'd be like, yo, just
I
go
don't care.
ahead.
Like, I don't care as much, and like.
Right.
But I walked her home, and again, everything like she was displaying like a lot of interest in me, like she was touching me a lot, like all over me. We didn't
Hmm.
like have sex or anything like that, but yeah, it's just and dude, I experience this all the time, bro.
Hmm.
Like girls who seem really interested, and just to like never hear from them again, and it's
Yeah.
like. I really think what the issue is, bro, is like they just have so many options, bro. Especially when they're young in their 20s, like they
Yeah.
just have a plethora of options
Yeah.
that
Social media.
yeah, exactly. Dating apps, and it's
Hmm.
like, maybe even in person when they're just walking, who knows? Like, I know guys definitely don't shoot their shot as much in person these days.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's just because they have a plethora of options. And mind you, like, they don't have to be good looking, they don't have to be in shape, they don't have to be cool. They
Right.
don't have to be anything special at all. And they will always have more options than a guy who's honestly good looking.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
It's like they're attracted to, like going back to what I was saying. It's like they're attracted to that energy of like a guy that's not nice to them. They're attracted to it. It's like female nature, and it's like
they're attracted to the inauthentic alpha male. Like
right, right. But the
there's
truth,
authentic
yeah,
alpha male, which I would say is me and you, right?
yeah,
Someone like understanding of truth and trying to do something about it, doing the great work.
right, right.
And then there's like that inauthentic alpha male, like Andrew Tate. You know what I mean? People like him,
Yeah,
basically.
it's
Donald.
like yeah, it's like an instant gratification. Like they're attached to it at first, but in the long run, it's not good for them. Like
Yeah,
for us, the true alpha male would be good for them in the long run. It might not be appealing at first to hear us speak this way, but in the long run, you'll learn to appreciate. Hey, people like us are the real leaders in this world. Um,
yeah. Oh,
but
girls don't like this kind of content. It's
yeah,
definitely not popular to get you
yeah.
in
So
the
some, and you know what's crazy though? Some women that I have met, they're now into this type of stuff. It's usually older women. It's not really younger like girls younger than us. They're not. Most of them are not interested in this type of shit. But like the older women that I've met, like they like this type of truth, and it's because they're more mature. Their minds are more developed. They're more experienced in life. Where like this is the type of stuff that they want to learn about, and it sucks that it has to come so late in their lives for them to realize this is the way to be. But you can't control what a woman thinks or what they say or what they do. So, I just try to do what I do best. We were talking about what were we talking about just before the woman thing? I can't remember exactly.
like the misogyny and stuff. How like the gender war, how misogyny came up like in 2020 as
Yeah,
like the combat to feminism
right,
because
right,
but mind you, like so basically all this like stuff is like mainly in a social media world.
right,
You know what
right.
I mean? It's like you know what? Have you heard of the Chad Khan wife? The Chad Khan wife.
No.
So it's like the traditional conservative wife. How a lot of guys who are in the red pill community they look for like that conservative type woman with conservative values who wants family and all that stuff. Basically, the type of woman who like wants to be controlled by a guy.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, it's like the housewife type girl.
Yeah,
Um, and so they painted like this picture that like those type of women don't really exist, especially if you're not that they don't exist at all, but like it's just rare because especially if you live in New Jersey, like where we are, if you live in the city area, like where and that's where most the population in the US lives is
hmm
by cities but in liberal what you would call areas
yeah,
where most women aren't like that. So it's like it's just unrealistic because it's a social media thing,
yeah. It is.
you know. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean by that? Like the whole, because I don't, it sounds like you're not so familiar with it.
No, I'm on board with what you're saying. I think like you said, it's the social media thing that has got women out of that mindset of being, that type of person. Like for example, I remember I would spoke to a group of girls in college about like cooking and cleaning. I was like, yo, I think all women should know how to cook and clean. Like, and they all got mad at me. They're like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, listen, as a woman, you were created to be the nurturer of the family. There's a reason why God gave you the ability to give birth and to harbor a child to give birth to. The woman has always played the role as the cooker, the nurturer, the one who keeps the family nurtured and healthy. So
Yeah,
you should automatically, that should be your role.
yeah,
As the male, my role, our roles is to protect and to feed, to go hunt. We're supposed to go hunt for the resources and protect our family. That's
hmm
why we're physically stronger. But the woman is different. So it's like this new age of women, they have got this idea that it's the opposite. They feel like they don't need to cook and clean anymore. But they've got it wrong. It's like, yo, you need to know how to do that. Yeah, men should know how to do the same thing too. I'm not saying that, but a woman should definitely know how to cook and clean. The amount of women I've met that don't know how to cook, it's crazy. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm like, yo, back in the day, it was never like that. Back in
yeah.
the day, almost every woman knew how
Yeah,
to cook.
it's because they just went to school. They like after high school they went to college, and then they just work like in a corporate job or whatever. A lot of them. So
Right. And then they just eat out all the time.
yeah,
Fast food, all this other shit. Especially if you live in the city, you're not gonna cook, you're gonna go eat out. So
yeah,
it's like
dude.
that.
Honestly, I never cooked till I moved out here. Then I started cooking, and it was fun. Like it was
Hmm.
new, but yeah, dude, it's a lot of money to eat out, and it's more healthy to cook too as well.
Right, right.
It's, you have control of like what you're cooking at least,
Hmm.
but yeah, dude, it's women are, I think really what it is women are just not in their feminine frame at all. Like they've been taken out of that, and
Yeah.
it's viewed as like if you are in a feminine frame as a woman, then like it's weakness. Like you're just a weak woman. Like by other women at least, not by like men, because men would like that.
Right.
But the thing is that again, the way the woman has been socially engineered and conditioned is to not really care too much. Like they care about like what certain guys think, like the hot ones,
Hmm.
whoever they deem as hot.
Yeah.
But they really don't care what guys think, and that's why like women. It seems like women do more what they want than men. Like it seems like men actually care more about what women think.
Yeah.
And I know this feeling because like obviously like again you want to connect with women and it's especially with my type of content I know it repels women for sure.
Yeah.
Like they might not tell me to my
Yeah.
face but I know otherwise like if I again if I promoted a lifestyle like Andrew Tate I'm sure more women would gravitate towards me.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, what were we talking about? I'm sorry I lost my train of thought.
Just like, women not gravitating to the alpha male.
Oh so
And
yeah anyway women like yeah they don't really care what men think. Like women are the leaders right now in the world. Like men are
yeah.
basically following the women. That's why a lot of men aren't doing what we're doing because
Yeah.
they fear the judgment of women and they
Right.
don't want to be judged by women or be not liked by
Right.
women. I know the feeling because like that sucks to not be liked by the
Yeah.
opposite sex.
Yeah.
Whether no matter if you're a man or a woman.
Right.
Um, so this is another way too. The powers that be feminize the guy because again
Hmm.
they pretty much with everything we've talked about, they've socially conditioned the woman to be a certain way, and because men want to be accepted by women, they follow right what the
Hmm.
woman does, and that's why a lot of these women don't respect men. That's why like something crazy like 80% of men are like invisible to women.
Hmm.
Like, they view like 80% of men ugly, like just
Yeah.
unattractive.
Mhm.
So, and then that's where you get that whole 20% theory, right? Where it's like, well, they're all like, there's like 20% of men that that pretty much all women are just having sex with and screwing around with. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, man, it's really sad, and like I think people need to realize this that
Hmm.
people that we've been socially conditioned to be a certain way. I think people need to realize that. It's a hard thing to realize, and it's hard to get people to realize it because that means they have to take the time to understand it. They have to have the awareness to see how it affects them. Then they have to accept that they've been lied to, and then they have to do the hardest part, which is take responsibility and change. And I think this is where we see the fallout, right? Because kind of like what I was saying earlier, how people always say, "Well, what's knowing this gonna? How is this gonna change my life? How is this gonna affect me? I just want to make money and focus on myself and my family and live a good life, you know."
Right, right.
Um, but it's like if you don't realize these things, like you're asking for more misery.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know how much weirder or how much more bad things have to get for people to understand. It's like with the price of everything, I don't understand like how we can just go on with the price of everything going up like this. How any
Exactly.
of us could live. Politics is so weird now, right? Like it's just weird. It's like you're watching a movie, you know.
Right, right,
Like the Trump attempted assassination. I think people forgot that even happened.
right.
You don't really hear
Yeah,
about that
yeah.
anymore.
People forget about things so quickly in this country.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
just weird, man. So I don't
yeah.
know. I'm really eager to see what the powers that be are going to do, like where they take
Yeah.
us, because
Well, so far it's getting pretty dark. All the people that just recently died. It's like, bro, Philadelphia is not that far from us. Like, I don't know how far it is from you, but for me, it's only like an hour and a half. And
yeah, it's like an hour from me.
yeah, and bro, I know people who live in Philly, and they're like, "Yo, that shit was scary." Like the fact that a
I
plane
saw
just,
the videos. Yeah, it was
bro,
crazy.
there was like human body parts laying on the street. Like it was horrible to see that. Just the fact that they would do that, and then you have this guy Trump just saying how, oh well, it was probably the diversity in the airport. That's the reason why. Like, come on, like, you know,
Yeah. So right now, I'm sure you noticed this. A really big right wing talking point is the DEI or whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Because again, everything is politics, right? They
yeah.
just blame the
It's
immigrants, all this stuff. So
right. It's nonsense, bro. It's like diversity has nothing to do with who's qualified to do the job. Like these people are so out of their mind. Like it's the fact that at the end of the day, Trump is the problem. Trump is the reason why people are taking sides. Now, I do blame the left to a certain degree as well because at the same time, these people they're pushing agendas and they're trying to flip the truth upside down. Yeah, I'm all for liberal thinking and progressive thinking, but they are trying to push agendas in those progressive truth communities. Like the LGBTQ community has taken over the liberal side, and that's why the right hates the left so much, is because that community that's pushing an agenda, they've taken over the left and liberalism. They've taken over what it means to be a liberal. Before that letter community, being a liberal, a lot of people were liberals back in the day. I'm not like, I'm not saying like 50 years ago, but let's say just 20 years ago, a
they were
lot
the
of
ones
people.
that were all about they were the ones that were all about free speech, right? Like 20 years ago,
Exactly,
weren't they?
exactly. Especially after 9/11, and all the things that happened with, the Kennedy assassination. That's what really came about, and what's that war? The Vietnam War. All those people were essentially, left, and they were about free speech and ending war. That's what I still think being a liberal should be. We don't need to go to war. We should be able to voice our opinions, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But now it's become this, oh, I'm a man because I think I'm a man. I'm a woman because I think I'm a woman, even though biologically I'm the other sex. Bro, that stuff is such nonsense. It's like ludicrous to even argue it over all this stuff.
Yeah, and that was a really big. That's how the powers that be have gaslit, specifically conservatives, just the average intellect, into these ridiculous nonsense rhetorics about you know children being able to mutilate themselves and pick their gender and
Hmm.
not tell parents if they feel like they're gender neutral or whatever,
Right, right.
and everything like that, right? Just these ridiculous things, and men going into women's bathrooms, just ridiculous things that should never be in a conversation, really,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And it was on purpose that they did all this because it was so. It's to push an agenda of like the gay and all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
push this and more pedophilia, because that's the real goal of
Right.
LGBTQ, right? Is
Right.
pedophilia.
Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And and
not a lot of people know that's it's people think, oh, it's trying to turn people gay, but it's more so about pedophilia.
it's pedophilia, and it's
It also feminizes like men in particular.
right. It's that, and it's depopulation. It's like
Yeah,
all of that stuff, man, and all that stuff is demonic. And that's why I don't fully support the left either, because I know that's what their agenda is today.
yeah.
You
But
know.
anyway, dude, like their goal was to gaslit light conservatives and just average minded people so that they could be like, all right, I want Trump back, to make Trump
Hmm.
be like, oh, let's go on his team now.
Exactly.
So it all makes sense in the end, like why Trump came back, this and that.
Exactly.
Dude, like, and it's funny, dude. I wish I gotta look through my old videos. I remember saying this like 5 years ago that
Hmm.
liberals were gonna get abandoned one day. Like all this woke stuff, like the corporations and shit are probably gonna abandon you because it was just a good time for them, right? It was a good time to be a liberal because they were really focusing on the woke shit and
Right.
like promoting it. But now it's a good time to be a Trump guy, right?
Hmm.
Because now he's the one that's loved by everyone now, and now the liberals are going to get silenced because now Trump has taken pronouns away, right?
Right.
So it's again, with all the goal, right, is censorship. Everything is about censorship, not being able to say certain things. But this is a really good time, dude, for people who are left leaning to wake up
Yeah.
to truth. Just like a
Okay.
lot of people on the right woke up to truth ever since, COVID in 2020.
Hmm.
Now this is a great time for left leaning people, but I don't think they can. I think they're too far gone, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they
Yeah.
can. What do you
The
think?
the amount of people who are on the left, I mean the right, that have unfollowed me on Instagram and stuff like that, it's crazy. Like,
You have too, yeah. When I speak
yeah,
about Trump, yeah,
like a lot of Trump people, they when I speak about Trump, they unfollow me, they give me slander. And what's crazy though? It's a lot of men that get in their feelings. A lot of the women that follow me, they're still following me, and they look at my stuff. And some of them interact with it more than the men do. Like, I've
yeah.
had girls
You
respond
know?
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, just
And
real quick. Interestingly enough, like
mhm,
since I've been on like a posting spree, because like I just have a new method where I just divide long videos into very short videos instead of
mhm,
just posting like an hour thing, because no one's gonna watch it if I post
right.
a long thing. But anyway, I noticed like people aren't unfollowing me. I used to like 5 years ago when I would post this shit, so many people would like unfollow me.
Yeah.
But now, like, I feel like people are seeing what I'm saying, and
Right.
like, not even just me, like me personally, but just like they see that there's something to these conspiracies, or they see something's weird, and
Right.
it's by
Right.
design
Right.
because they want you to research, but they want you to fall down a rabbit hole
Hmm.
of one of their rabbit holes of Donald Trump, or it's all the JQs, or some whatever rabbit holes they have, QAnon, whatever it might be,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, so it's interesting because they want you. They're at a point where they want you to question them, because
Hmm.
obviously their goal is to destroy whatever they have now, America, the how things are, and they're probably going to have AI run government, right? It's probably
Yeah.
not going to be
It's
a president anymore, right? Wouldn't you say
yeah.
they'll probably just have AI like running everything from
AI
like in
is
government?
Yeah. I mean, you're already seeing it in the legal field, and with lawyers, and you're seeing it with the medical field, where AI is basically performing surgeries. So it's like eventually lawyers, doctors, nurses, they're not going to be a thing anymore, because AI is going to be able to handle the job and do it for longer, and
Klaus
not
Schwab.
Klaus Schwab. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure
That,
you've heard him talk
the
about how
the
AI.
Jesuit.
Yeah, yeah. You've heard him
Yeah,
talk about how AI is going to be used for like elections and all that,
yeah, of
fake
course.
elections and all that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. Like,
yep,
it's only 5 years from now. Like, it's crazy, man.
yeah.
So, but like I was saying, I'm like, yo, a lot more women are like more aware of the world and the state that it's in. Like, a lot more women that I know are aware that the games are rigged, the sports are rigged. and they accept it more than men. Men are like all in their feelings. They're the ones who are like debating me and arguing
Women
with me
don't like
online.
women don't like guys who are really into sports like that. Like if you
Yeah,
play it, that's one thing. If you just like to play it, that's
right.
different. Like if you're watching it and like all on your emotions about it, like they girls find that a really big turnoff. You know?
Exactly. And it's crazy how so many women I've talked to, they're like, "Oh yeah, I see how it's rigged." But I talked to a guy about it. They're like, "What are you talking about? It's not rigged." I'm like, "Yo, like, why are you so emotional about cheering on another man? Like,
Yeah,
you're wearing
because
another man's name on your back, and you're like cheering for this guy. Like, the
yeah,
hell is wrong with you?"
again because it means that they have to look in the mirror and be like, "Oh shit, I'm wrong," and
Right.
that's people. You already know people do not want to say I'm wrong. It's hard. I'm not saying
Exactly.
it's easy. It's hard to do, but
Exactly. And it's, but like, my point being is that it seems like the world is slowly waking up. And especially what we just saw with these two, it was more than two plane crashes. It was like five that happened within a week. But
yeah, there's
the,
been a lot that are happening. Yeah.
yeah, but the two that happened, recently, a lot more
What's the
people are,
overall agenda? Is it for AI running planes and like
well, I don't know. My thing is, I don't understand why all airplanes don't have a parachute system installed. Like that, like it just seems logical to create that type of thing for people's safety. But second, um, eventually it's gonna be AI everything. For example, look at the all the girls who are getting plastic surgery. That's basically transhumanism. You're
yeah,
you're literally changing yourself to an unrecognizable
yeah.
being.
Dude, it's so
And
funny. There'll be girls. There's a few girls that popped up on my suggested from high school, and
uh-huh,
like they got a lot of them got the lip
right,
filler.
right.
It's just so funny knowing them, like how they used to look and seeing that.
Yo.
It's funny. Like I would, dude. I'm not gonna lie. If I saw them in person, I would literally laugh in their face. Be like, oh,
I saw
oh,
this
you're
one
not
white
fooling me
girl.
with
I saw this one white girl with these busted up lips, and I'm like, why did you do that to yourself? Like I'm sure her lips before were like fine. They may have been a little bit thin or whatever, but now they're like busted and like chapped up. I'm like, oh my god, like you just mutilated your face. Like are you okay? And a lot of it has to go back to mental illness. There's a
yeah,
lot of mental illness going on in the world. A lot of it has to do with social media. I
yeah.
had a friend
Our
tell
whole
me,
generation is depressed.
yeah, yeah, and social media makes it so much worse because the minute you open Instagram, you see the most beautiful girl you've ever seen in your entire life, and
Yeah,
imagine women that see that stuff. They're just like all these men are like lusting over that. They're
yeah,
like, dang, I want to be that. I want to look like that. Like I had a friend who told me that his girlfriend or the girl he was dating at the time, she would she was wanting to get all this surgery because she saw it on Instagram and her friends were like persuading her to do it, and he's like, yo, like he was like telling her friends like, yo, like stop like telling her this stuff, like you're like corrupting her mind. And it's like I can understand why that's happening. It's tragic.
yeah.
and,
No,
and I saw something the other day, like there's like women who get these like facial reconstructions, and
mm-hmm.
like, bro, they look completely different. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's crazy. Like you don't even look like what you were born to be,
yeah.
like that's scary as a man. And then there was another thing. My cousin sent me this. It was like a girl or a trans girl that was trying to be a trans girl that had on their passport it was male, and and sh- the trans girl didn't want it to say male. She wanted to say female, and the government was like, "No, you were legit a male. Like you cannot change your passport to female." And it's just like you look at the trans girl and you're like, oh, this looks just like a girl, and you would never be able to tell. And
Yeah,
like for me, I think that's like scary. I'm like, yo, like you can't even tell these days if
yeah,
they're a girl or a guy. What if you're a man trying to create a family and you fall in love with this girl and you're like, all right, let's have a baby, and then boom, you figure out that you can't have a baby with this chick.
I'm
Like
sure that's happened.
I'm sure it's happening a lot now.
Yeah,
It's like, bro, that's traumatizing. That's not fair to men. Like we're already at a disadvantage. Like there's just so much agendas going on, and again, that goes back to the letter community. That's their agenda, depopulation, and like you saying, it's making a lot of men feminine. You know, how many men are now beta males? You know, they're out of shape. You know, they're just going along with the agenda. They have Trump all over their back. All of, they might as well just stamp Trump on their forehead like a cattle. Like honestly, bro, if Trump said get on your knees, I swear to God, half of those people would get on their knees for Trump.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that's how deep they are into his like mind games.
yeah,
And I don't want to make this about Trump this, Trump that, but like he is the current president right now, and it's only been a week, and there's so much chaos has been happening.
yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Back to the Future?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah, that's like what. Ever since he became president, that's like what it reminds me of.
I have to rewatch that movie, but I used to watch it when I was younger.
There's basically a guy who like he's supposed to resemble Trump, coming back like in his second presidency and like
Uh-huh.
being the savior and all
I
that.
see. I
But
see.
really, what he does is he destroys the country and all that.
Yeah, right. And that's
And then he's
exactly.
being painted as a savior, like is kind of like what's going on now. It's really
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, it's. I see why people say he's the Antichrist. There's good reason to say that, but again, man, it's like they're using religion
I,
as
I think
a
Barack Hussein Obama is going to be the leader of the New World Order. I think he's going to come back somehow.
yeah. You
But
think?
I don't know actually. I used to think that, but I don't know. Him and Mike Obama, Big Mike, has really been getting exposed a lot. Like
Yeah,
on X, there's a lot of people that hate them, and like they're talked about a lot. And I'm like,
I
wow,
know.
maybe
I,
they're not as they're not really and maybe that's more of a Christian thing
it
because
it
a lot of
yeah.
Christians say that
It's a
about.
flat Earth conspiracy loophole that they rabbit hole they go down. But what
But
I will
I
say,
still wouldn't be surprised though if he does somehow lead the New World Order or whatever.
yeah, I mean Obama is definitely a shill and a puppet and a satanic, person. But what I will say is Obama, when he was in office, the country was doing pretty well, like economic wise, just even music. Music was great during that time.
Yeah,
Like people were like rent was cheap, groceries was cheap, like gas was cheap. I remember gas around that time was like $1.80. I'm like, yo, this life was good, bro. And then as soon as Trump
yeah.
goes in, things like go downhill. And
Dude, yeah,
COVID
I
hit.
remember our freshman year of college, like we were
Mhm.
18, 19, like I was filling up my tank with $18, like less than
Yo,
$20.
dead
Yeah.
ass, same.
Yeah.
So it's like, I will say, like, when Obama was in office, things were pretty good, but he was blowing people up around the world. But again, that's not his decision. That's like the cabal, the government.
Is
They
but is Obama like very high up in the occult, or is he like just like what's up with these conspiracies about him?
he's as high up as Trump and George Bush is. They're all related.
He's not more high up than Trump and
No, I think they're all in the same. They're all in the same
all the
level.
conspiracies about him than being an antichrist, like him in
It's
particular.
it's just because one, it's a
Like dude,
racial
there's
thing
probably
too.
thousands of videos about it. I'm not kidding.
I know it, and it has to go with the flat Earth stuff, and it's also the numerology behind his name. It also equals like Antichrist and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
it's just like it's flat Earth rabbit hole stuff. It's stuff that doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, Antichrist could be anybody. It could be multiple people. I think Elon Musk could be the more way. Elon Musk is probably more likely to be the Antichrist than any of the other people are. But at the end of the day, I don't really get involved in that stuff because you can't really prove it. The things we
yeah,
can prove is that there's a group of people who are working in cahoots to destroy this country, to make us give up our rights and liberties, you know. And I think the solution is to give people the information and make them aware that this country is not a sovereign nation. We live in a world where there are criminals who are in control of a lot of resources, and they have so much manipulation on the world that it's dangerous. It's a dangerous time we're living because in the next 100 years, we don't know what the world's going to look like in 100 years. It could be like Mad Max type world where it's just like all desert, and there's rich people living in space or living underground. Like we have no idea what the world's going to look like. That's why we see so much of these movies that have these predictive programming, Like who's to say that's not what's going to happen? And it looks like it. Especially with the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, like that's literally what the world is today.
Hmm.
And I think again, the solution is to inform people and to influence people. Like entertainers, like musicians, like people, actors, like these are the most powerful people in the world because they have so much influence over people. Like Michael Jackson, for example, anything Michael Jackson would have said, people would go along and do it. Like that's how much power that guy had, and they
Yeah.
took him out. They killed him. Tupac, the amount of power he had over the people in the West Coast was crazy. He was literally like their leader. He was like the Caesar to their empire. So they took him out. So whenever influencers get too powerful and big, they take him out because they know that that's the one piece that
So
could
did he
be.
actually? Did they actually die then?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think those people died. I think there is a fake deaths. Like they killed their character off the stage.
Then what? They go live off on one of these islands that they have off.
I
You
I, I would make that bet. Yeah.
know. What about underground cities? Are those
Oh,
conspiracies true? The
I
underground
I
cities one.
think they're real. I think they're real. I think a
I
lot of
think
the
that's. I want to do more research on that because I think that's really
Yeah,
interesting.
I
The
think
underground
the
cities.
trafficking is definitely happening, and Trump is a part of it. Joe Biden's a part of it. All of them are a
Oh
part of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Obama's a part of it.
Yo, by
I
the way, do you mind if I go pee real quick? Because
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Do your
I just
thing.
I don't want to cut you off. I gotta go
No,
to the
do your thing. Um, but yeah, I think all those people are a part of that stuff. And we just don't know like what the real truth is, because we're not being told. We go on the internet and we hear things. We might watch the news and we're hearing something completely different. So, what do you believe? Who do you say is telling you the truth? Back in the day, we would like to believe that the radio and the TV was the truth tellers, the ones telling us the facts and what was really going on. That's what we were programmed to believe. Um, the people on the screen were the authorities that were telling us the truth about what was happening. Now, a lot of people still live by that. They watch the news, and if whatever the news says is true, then that's it. But I think that it's a dangerous time we're living in because the screens are affecting people's minds. The screens are giving people this false hope, this false idea of what truth is, and then the real truth seekers in this world who are on YouTube or whatever platform, they're getting censored. They're getting shadow banned, and their messages are not getting out there. But the people who are frauds or who are not really of the truth community, they have so many followers. They have so many people who are attached to their platform, and that's what's dangerous. Justin, I was just saying how like the screens are really controlling people's minds. Like back in the day or in our parents' generations, the TV was what everyone believed to be true. If the TV said this, then it was true, and that was it, no debate. And a lot of the older generation, they still live by that. They watch the news, and if the TV says that this is what happened, then that's the truth. There's no debating it. And then you got, our generation. We see something on the internet and it says something completely different. So now there's a feud going on between generations on what's true and what's not true. You know.
Yeah.
So and then when you go on the internet, you see that there's a truth community, but almost I would say 70 to 90% of the truth community is agents now. Especially after the 2020, most of the truth community is a bunch of agents,
Mhm.
and people who are just using religion as like this playbook
Yeah.
to manipulate people.
Okay. I want
So
to. I'm gonna try to share my screen with you. Could I do that? Because I want to show you
yeah,
this account on X.
yeah, go ahead.
That's like, it's literally a perfect example. What you're saying.
I'm gonna get a drink of water. So just
All right. Yeah.
be right back.
right. You see it on my screen? You can't hear me. Well, I'm going to assume you guys can see my screen here. I'm sure some of you who are on X and you're in the truth community, you probably are aware of this person right here. Andrea Lynn. I discovered this person, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago, I guess. And you know, they're really on point all the time with what they say, but as you notice, I'm blocked. And the reason I'm blocked is because I called her out for, you know, that she talks about the same shit all the time, which is that Trump's friggin' a fraud, and you know, COVID was a lie, right? So,
All right, I'm back.
yeah. Hey, do you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it at the bottom here. Okay, it's on.
Oh, okay. I guess people weren't able to see because I was
It,
talking. So anyway, this account right here, I discovered it like 6 months ago,
mhm.
right? And this is a perfect account of, I'm pretty sure, like, dude, it has almost 50,000 followers in.
Yeah, I've seen accounts like this before.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like this is what I mean by like a porn bot type picture.
yeah.
And dude, like they're on point, but so dude, I'm blocked as you see. They blocked me because
They blocked you.
I basically said like, hey, so all she does, bro, is talk about Trump being a fraud and COVID was a lie. Those are like the two biggest things, which is like
Yeah.
that's very surface level truth, you know?
Right.
And it's like that's all she talks about. And it's like, dude, she's tweeting about it all day and like I don't know. I basically just said, listen, like we have to talk about other things besides just this. Like this is very like obvious stuff. Like, you know, let's get deeper. And then she blocked me basically
Yeah,
when I
that's
said
crazy.
that. And people like even her followers, dude, they got all mad, being like, don't tell people how to run their accounts or what to say on their accounts. Like, yeah, I know. But, like,
Right.
I don't know, man. It's like this is why I get mad with the truth community because, like again, and this is another example of, you know, this person doesn't have any links to anything, like no YouTube channel, no website,
Right. It's just a page.
and it's just Andrea Lynn, like two first names, you know. So a lot of
Yeah.
red flags with it, but
Yeah. Could be a
yeah,
bot account.
that's really just what I wanted to show you was that Andrea Lynn. But
Go
we'll
through
leave her.
some of the tweets. Can you see the tweets or?
Yeah. So funny enough, on X, when someone blocks you, you can still see their stuff.
Hmm.
Well, like let's use this. This is her pinned tweet. She tweeted this on December 13th. The satanic elite who control the government aren't going to use an obvious moron like Kamala to usher in digital ID, CBDC, and biometric surveillance. Instead, they present a strategically chosen team of deceivers masquerading as quote unquote freedom fighters, earning the trust of conservatives who would reject these agendas under a Democrat. And like, yo, that's totally on point.
Right.
The puppet masters have perfected the art of deception and remain far ahead of the majority's awareness. Stay vigilant, excuse me.
Vigilant. Yeah. Yeah. It's like that is on point,
Um,
and but it's like, all right, who's saying this?
all right,
Is
so
this?
right here, yeah. So here we go. It's 2025, and the COVID poison jabs are still on the market, with not a single person held accountable for crimes against humanity. Your government hates you. I mean, yeah, like that's true. The Trump admin calls the New World Order agenda the Golden Age. So their base won't realize they're frauds pushing the digital beast system. Do not be deceived. And it's true. And like, dude, I can go on and on, but you know, really what her shit is mainly focused on constantly is Trump and the right and COVID, all that. She claims that she had her awakening um, during COVID, like ex nurse. Like this is her bio. You could see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like ex hospital nurse, anti-establishment, anti-big pharma, politics is Masonic theater, question everything.
Yeah. Right. All the like the good stuff, like saying all the things you want to hear. But
Yeah,
like,
and of course, you
where's?
know, like the Trump and Israel stuff,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this.
It's funny.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny
So
about that? Just real quick, it's just like Trump is the most Jewish president we've ever had because all of his kids are married into Jewish families, and he's like known for going over to Israel and hanging out, right? But yet, a lot of Jewish people I know they support the left side, so it's like
Really?
weird. Yeah, it's like it's weird because a lot of Jews that I've met, they're down with the letter community. They're down with whatever agenda
Isn't
that
Israel
the
isn't Israel quote unquote the gayest country in the world?
I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. Considering that it is a controlled state that was created by the CIA, the Catholic Church. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Dude,
it, it
you know in Tenafly where I grew up, like those kids, like they're Jewish, but they're Israelis. Like they're not like the Hasidic Jews like in Bergenfield and in Teaneck. Like
yeah.
they're like the Israelis. So they live like the world, like they
Uh-huh.
don't they celebrate the Jewish holidays, but they don't take it serious. And dude, it was
Yeah.
so interesting, bro, growing up around them. And then, now that I know truth, realizing the deception around Israel
Hmm.
and all that stuff. And dude, like they all had money, bro. Like they were very rich.
Hmm.
But they were very like snobby people. I'm not
Hmm.
saying they're all bad or like they're all
Right.
evil because like dude, they're this is why like the issue with the JQ conspiracies because like they when you isolate a group like that, you kind of sound a little crazy. Like
Exactly.
if I were to tweet like, oh my god, the Jews, this and that, like how much wouldn't I just look like an idiot? You know,
Exactly.
and it's like me saying like, well, the Illuminati, this and that, like because like it's just that word now has lost credibility and
Hmm.
on purpose.
Exactly. Even
So
though it's a real thing, it's just
right, right.
people. Yeah, I mean, same with me, man. I grew up in a town with, like, I would say almost half the town was Jewish. So, you know, I've always been treated very nicely by them. When I was growing up, they allowed me to come to their houses, and I slept over, had dinner with their families. I went to their
Yeah,
bar
man.
mitzvahs,
I've
their
had
bat
Shabbat dinner.
mitzvahs.
You've had
Yeah,
Shabbat.
yeah, I've had a lot of their. I've experienced a lot of their culture, and they're very nice. But they are under this like indoctrination.
They do
Um,
have a high sense of self because like they're the quote unquote God's chosen people and all that.
right, and it's a false, a stolen identity on top of that.
Right, yeah.
But like the real thing is that they're under indoctrination because of religion, and for them it seems like religion is more like a business. It's like, hey, I'm in this synagogue, this church, this community because it helps me financially. you
Yeah.
know that's what it seems more of. It doesn't seem more like as a holy thing
Right,
overall. Now, I'm not
right.
saying that everyone in the Jewish community is in it for just the economic reasons.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of them who do practice the faith for religious and spiritual purposes.
Oh yeah.
But I think at the highest levels of their community, the richest people in their community, the rabbis and the people who have a lot of wealth around the country and the world, they're in it for political reasons. The ones that live around us, they're not part of that stuff. Maybe like one or two of their bloodlines may be a part of like the Freemasons, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, but like most of them, they're not a part of that stuff. So that's why you can't say all Jews are this and that, because it is wrong, because a lot of them are just average everyday people like us.
Yeah.
It's just, again, they are indoctrinated to believe that Israel is this like saint nation that's gone through so much tragedy. When in actuality, Israel was created by Hitler. Essentially, Hitler allowed 60 to 70,000 Jews to go to Israel after World War II. Right after the Holocaust, basically, like Hitler allowed them to go, or right before, rather.
Yeah.
So it's like we have to realize that all these religions are part of the agenda to indoctrinate people, to keep them vibrating at a low frequency, no matter if it's the Jewish community, or if it's the Christian, or the Catholics, or the Nation of Islam. Every single Abrahamic religion is part of this agenda to indoctrinate and to conquer and divide. So, me, I grew up a Christian Baptist, um, and most Black people, Black Americans, most of us are Christian Baptists. But I'm not a follower of the Christian, beliefs. Not the beliefs, but the whole practice of religion. Like I don't do communion. I don't drink the blood of Christ. I don't eat the body of Christ. I don't like that because that seems like a ritual. That seems like a satanic ritual. Drinking the blood and eating the body of Christ. Like that's weird. you know like I think that learning the teachings of Christianity is the right thing to do. Learn the golden rule, learn about treating people right, and the act of charity. Even in the Nation of Islam, in the Muslim community, they talk about charity a lot. Like, if you're rich, you must give back.
Yeah.
I can get down with that, and in the Jewish community, they have certain things too that I agree with. I can get down with their way of thinking, but as a whole, I'm not gonna devote my life to a religion because none of the religions are the truth. All of them are stemming from a one spiritual truth. That's where it all stems from, but none of them have the ultimate truth. So they've used religion to conquer and divide, and for me, I'm spiritual. I believe in a higher power, and I pray. I pray every day. I pray for gratitude. I'm grateful for what I have. I think that's what prayer should be. Just being grateful for the things that you have. Food, water, shelter, clothes on your back. Family. You have job. You have money to do things. You can all your limbs work. All your functions work. Just being able to say that you're grateful for certain things. That's what the core uh, truth of spirituality is to me. But yeah, so getting back to what you were saying, I think this is a bot account.
What's
I
that?
see.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I think that's definitely a bot account because I've seen accounts like that and they're like spitting truth, but like they seem so caught up in the Matrix agenda.
yeah. So it's interesting because one, I don't feel like it's a girl. I feel like it's a dude. Uh,
Probably.
I feel like either it's a dude that like is trying to spread truth, just like pose as a girl, or it's just an Asian account, like you said, or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
That's not a bad idea either, because like you'll get a lot of followers if you pose as a hot girl.
dude, yeah, it's annoying because I always like I know if I was a girl making this kind of content, like I know I'd get a lot more subscribers and followers.
100%.
So
It's funny how things work. I've seen girls literally have nothing to them, like no substance to them. All they have is a big booty, it's nice titties,
yeah,
and
they're hot.
they
Yeah,
have like tens of thousands of followers. I'm
yeah,
like, yo, they're I'm looking at their page. I'm like, they're posting nonsense, like, and they have all this influence. Like, it's crazy, bro.
yeah, man. It's
Like
it's
these,
it's a sad world, dude. That
it is a sad
we're
world.
in,
It's,
like for real.
you ever seen that movie Idiocracy?
Idiocracy.
Yeah,
That sounds really familiar.
you gotta look that movie up, bro. It will blow your mind how accurate it depicts today's world. Like it has Terry Crews in there. Terry Crews is funny in that movie. It's a crazy movie. It's like kind of like a goofy, silly movie, but there's a lot of truth in the movie. Almost like They Live. It's like similar to They Live.
Yeah, I'm reading the what's it called, the bio of the movie.
Yeah, it's like you have a dummy as a president. The society has been so dumbed down that they no longer have running water. They use like a Gatorade like substance as like their water, and
Oh,
they eat junk food.
I heard of this movie actually. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like almost like a silly version of like Wally, like the
he's a
future of the
wrestler.
future.
Wait, isn't he like a wrestler or something?
Yeah, he's like a famous like celebrity that's like president.
Yeah,
It's just crazy. And then there's like the one guy who's like slightly smarter than everyone else. Like his IQ is like slightly above, and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, why you guys are kind of dumb?" But he's like dumb himself. Like in today's world, he would be the dumbest person.
yeah.
So it's funny how they made that movie, but it shows you exactly what today's world is. You know, people are just so dumbed down
Yeah,
and indoctrinated.
yeah, and the issue too is, man, is like caring about the judgment of other people, because that's a really hard part, and that's definitely something I've struggled with, especially when I was like younger, and
Yeah,
like especially posting about this stuff, talking about it,
yeah,
and people think I'm weird because of it. I feel like though it's less now because people are more open to these type of theories, whatever you want to call
right,
them.
yeah,
So people are yearning for truth because they realize that a lot of what's being told, what they're being told isn't accurate.
yeah. Of
So
course.
I think there's a lot of people who are hungry for truth, who are really looking for answers or alternate not theories, but alternate perspective, let's say.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens because again, I'm really eager, man, because I came from like that Christian type background to where it's like I thought the world was gonna end and all that, and
Yeah,
the the Antichrist is gonna reign, and then Jesus Christ is gonna come back and all that stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see
yeah,
where they take us. I think it's just we're gonna evolve obviously into more technology. I think we're gonna continue to be very disconnected as a human species, and things are gonna get worse with that. Um, so I don't know. I think we really have to think about ways we can get together as a community, because that's what's
mhm.
lost is
A
our
sense
sense
of
of community.
community.
Like again, it's crazy that I lived here in this town that I'm at for 3 years, and there's like 10,000 people almost that live here, and like out of these 10,000 people, I haven't made any friends. Like I haven't like I don't have a girlfriend, and it's like I
Hmm.
probably haven't even met a quarter of the people that live here, or ran into them, because people just aren't really out like that
Right. Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and a lot of people are not socializing like we did in the past. Like, you go out to a public place and half the people are on their cell phones. It's like, bro, like back in the day, like when I was a kid, when we were kids, we're like, you can go to a public place and a lot of people would just be conversating with one another. Because they couldn't distract themselves with their
Yeah,
cell phone. Like that's what I miss about society is like going to somewhere where like you're actually socializing. I had one of my friends, his mom works for this high school, and she was telling me how they have these like high school dances, and they had to stop doing them because the kids are just not interacting at the dances. They're like on their phones. They're just like there's a DJ and everything. There's a DJ. There's lights and food. Like it's a party, but all the kids are just on their phones, like they're just being weird. So like they stopped doing it. But I remember those dances like when I was younger, yo, they were so much fun
hmm.
because it wasn't like, yeah, you had a cell phone, but you weren't like on it the whole time. Like you were like, I remember I was trying to dance with girls, like I was hooking up with girls, talking to girls, like I was having fun. Like that
Yeah.
was like,
Crazy
the,
that was 10 years ago. Just for
exactly,
context for people, we graduated 10 years ago, so a lot has
exactly,
changed. A lot has changed.
exactly.
There wasn't, for example, not that it's a big deal really, but there wasn't any transgenders. There wasn't any talk of that stuff. There was
Right.
gays and dykes, but like
Yeah.
no one bothered them, and they didn't bother like any straight. Like no one made fun of each other. You know what I mean? For
Exactly.
like because no one cared. It's just that they've made people care now because of obviously through the media,
Yeah.
the gaslighting and all that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, and yeah, obviously with the phone, we had a really big issue back then with the phone for sure. Even but now it's worse because we didn't have TikTok. That's the thing. TikTok didn't come around. It didn't get big till COVID, right? I would say 2019, 2020 is when it got
Yeah.
really big,
Right.
and that definitely changed everything. We weren't even in like college age if you graduated in 2019 college whatever. So
Hmm. Right.
a lot of people I went to school with graduated then, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like we missed that TikTok era.
Yeah.
So it's like there's even a difference because I have a little brother, right? He's 21,
Hmm.
and there's just like a difference between like me and him in terms of like the amount we go out. He doesn't really like, not that this is bad. He doesn't really drink or smoke.
Hmm.
But he has more like anxiety like, than I ever had. Like he's social anxiety, like
Yeah.
depression more often. Because he's on his phone a lot. He plays a lot of video games, and
Right.
not that he doesn't go out at all, but like he's inside a lot. He grew up, especially he was in high school, during COVID.
Yeah. Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's rough.
so you're seeing uh, how the impact that I think that had, especially.
Hmm.
So I was working at a pizza place right on the weekend, like as a side job, like delivery guy. I'm not right now. They told me not to come in this month, so.
Hmm.
But anyway, so a lot of the kids that work there are like late teens, early 20s, right? The counter girls or whatever, counter dudes,
Hmm.
whoever, and like they're different, dude. It's just they're a lot more awkward. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They're not good at making eye contact.
Hmm.
Um, they speak like really low, like not confidently. I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it. And I know they're young as well, but I don't know. I feel like I wasn't really like that at 19. Like I feel like
Right.
I was more social, I guess,
Right. Right.
or willing to socialize, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't.
No. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was done saying what I was
No,
saying.
I agree with what you're saying. I see the same things happening too. Like kids are not making eye contact. They're not, confident in what they're saying, or they're it's like their phone is the only way they feel comfortable of living. You know, of
Yeah,
of existing in this world is for them. It's being in their phone. So
yeah.
that's what I'm
Dude,
saying. Like,
save for me too. Like even like if I didn't have my phone like for a whole day, like it would be really weird, and
yeah,
it would really take some getting used to. I wouldn't freak out.
right.
It would suck for me, but I wouldn't obviously like these kids would freak out.
I know. And for me, honestly, I practiced not having my phone. Like there was a time where I didn't have a phone number. So I didn't have a phone number. I deleted social media apps. I still had the actual account, like the Instagram account, but I deleted the app. So I wasn't like as soon as I open my phone, the app is right there. I can't just click it right away and I'm on. I had to like go to Safari, I had to log in. Like that's a process. So I created like a barrier, right? So that helped me kind of detach from the apps and the phones. So like now I can go like a day without my phone. Like if I didn't have my phone, it would be like weird, but like I can still go a day without it. But man, imagine being a kid who all you know is the phone. Like
Yeah,
you grew up, all you knew was tablets and phones and screens. You would literally have a mental breakdown without it,
yeah,
And that's what I'm worried about with the future. I'm
me too.
worried that we're going to have a generation of adults who are going to have mental illness because they're going to be so jacked up that their mind can't function in normal society, and the phones are going to be like their god. So
Yeah,
if these phones are somehow taken over where it's being manipulated to 100%, this it's going to be scary. Agendas are going to be pushed through the phones where, hey, you know like let's use like the Purge, right? Like that movie, The Purge. That very well could happen, where an agenda gets pushed through social media. Hey, yeah, maybe we should kill people every year. Maybe one day out the year there should be a day where we kill people. A lot of the kids who are going to see that, they're going to grow up and be like, well, based on these videos, and it could be AI videos.
they have the kids' minds.
Yeah.
They've had them for a long time.
Right, and
They
and
have
it, and
kids'
you've
minds.
seen AI how they're able to make videos that look real. People
Yeah,
that look real.
I'm sure you've heard of
That's
kids committing suicide because of the AI, the interactions.
no,
Have you heard about that?
oh, like they've been talking to AI, like shit like
Yeah, and
that.
like eventually the bot commits it, the kid to commit suicide. So
That's
so that they could
crazy.
be together. So that they could be together.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's some demonic shit, man.
Yeah, well, dude, all the Christian guys I follow, who mind you are all so on point with truth.
Hmm.
They always talk about that to not interact with the Chat GBT, the AI.
Yeah.
How there's all these weird videos of people being like, oh, the most recent one I saw was this weird like feminine gay dude. He was like, oh my god, guys, like my Chat GBT said this. It was really weird. Like my phone wasn't even on or anything, and it just said, oh hey, I see you and your dog, and he was like, how did you know? Like, are you watching me? And the chat was like, yeah, I'm always watching you.
That's
Something
crazy.
something really creepy about oh, you and your dog. And like he was like, oh, this is me and my dog right here, and like my camera's off, and somehow the chat GBT texted me that. I actually just deleted it, bro, last night
Yeah,
because
really.
I was talking to it,
You were talking to it. That's funny.
yeah, about like stomach pain or something random, like why did your stomach hurt when you're hungry or whatever,
Yeah.
and and then I just said like you're really stupid, chat. Like you're not like you give me these long drawn out answers, this and that, and then it's just something weird like are those stomach pains getting to you? I was like, oh, that's creepy. Okay,
That's funny. It's starting, and like that's what that thing is doing. It's developing like a humor, and it's able to like interact with humans more because like we're using it as like, bro, this stuff is scary. That
yeah,
thing is getting
but yeah.
smarter by the day.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to like go into that. What I really
Mm,
wanted to say too, like what you were saying, was like especially the generation coming up using the stuff is like I don't have any kids. I know you don't either, but like my little brother's 21. Like I got little cousins who are 17, 15, 11, and like 7. So like I have a lot of like younger cousins, and like I always think about them. Like that's why I want to do content. Like I want these kids to like if they ever like have a curiosity or if they ever look at me or they I just want them to know that like I was fighting
yeah,
for you guys and try maybe you don't understand now but like there might be a day where they do
yeah,
and that's what people got to think about as well is how do you want to be viewed by these coming kids because it's right it's easy for me in my 20s to point the finger at the boomers the Gen Xers right because
hmm,
there is a lot that they failed and that they're still not doing
right, right,
and I don't want to be the guy like that the teens and the people in their 20s are like, oh, you didn't do anything. I don't want to be that
right.
because that you have a responsibility,
Yeah,
to
it's
deliver truth to people when you know it, especially like us.
exactly.
You could like say it and not be crazy about it.
Right, and especially if no one else is doing it, it's like, all right, well, we got to step up and do it,
Yeah,
and
it sucks because there probably is going to come a day soon where like I might not be able to have the job I have now because
right,
of what I believe and
right,
I might have to get certain things in me to even have a job or some sort of ID to even do certain things.
right, right, and that's what we're fighting against,
Yeah.
and it's up to our generation to stop that from happening. Like the older generation, it's past their time. Like they can't do anything about the future now. Right now, it's up to our generation to stand up and to
Yeah.
change the world, and we can still do it. It's not over. People have this dumpster mentality. Yeah, the
Like my
cabal.
parents, dude, like telling me today, right? Like I was saying that they're realizing it.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's about you just if you really believe in something, which obviously me and you obviously believe in this, it's not some sort of truth gimmick because there's a market for truth as where you could just use right wing talking points and go that route. But
Yeah,
anyway, it's like I feel like there's a certain respect people are gonna have for you, or it's like they're like, oh, like he has a point. If you keep going, if you're consistent, and because things are gonna pan out in your favor if you're a truther, because they usually do. Because truthers
yeah,
usually end up right in a few
yeah,
years. It's not overnight, but in a few
yeah,
years we're always right.
yeah.
Maybe not exactly on point, but we're on point with where the world is headed.
Exactly. And
So
I've been doing. Yeah, and I've been like really like saying truth for the past, like, I would say 3 years, but like 4 years. Once COVID happened, that's when I started like kind of pushing, truth. But
yeah,
right after
that's
I
when
got out, yeah, like right after I got out of like my relationship at the end of 2020, that's when I went full board onto like music, my purpose, and pushing out truth content. And ever since, and keep in mind, I've been celibate since 20 at the end of 2021. So I haven't had any like sexual contact with females since end of
wow,
2021. So for me, it's been like I've been on a mission, and like a lot of it feels like divine. Like I'm just in this space where God just doesn't want me with females at right now. Like I need to be pushing this truth content. I need to be making music and building my brand. Um, and I think that's what every guy needs, or every person in our generation needs. Like we need like that awakening to not only truth but our purpose in life. Um, and that's what I've been doing. It's just it sucks though. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I get temptations every day to go on Instagram or go out and meet girls and still
Yeah,
indulge in that life. But
yeah.
right
And
now,
it's depressing, like like it's
it
depressing
is.
because it's
Yeah,
very socially isolating believing in this stuff because it's so
right.
hard to relate to people, and that's the dark side, of course, about like being awake is like I guess you could say the downside is when you're so aware that like you even point out the flaws in yourself,
Yeah,
and you realize that maybe like inconsistencies in yourself or things like that, or you realize stuff in other people, or there's obviously a dark side. Like the dark side is it's hard to relate to people. Like,
exactly.
you're not going to be able to live like the world anymore once you
Yeah,
find out the truth. It's going to be hard to really fit in and relate to people.
yeah. And like we were saying earlier, like, bro, there's almost nobody I have that I can talk about like numerology and like this type of stuff we've been talking about tonight. I have nobody to talk to about it. Like, outside of like certain members of my family and like one or two people I knew from like college, I I can't talk to anyone about this stuff. And it's just like, bro, like that takes a toll on your mind, because it's like, I'm sure you experience the same thing. It's like, yo, you need to talk about this stuff, and if you're not able to talk about it, it can mess you up, and then you can revert back to the matrix of being one of those programmed sheep. And I've seen it happen to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like, they try to like be a truther or try to like, but then they let the pressures of other people get to them. The isolation. The amount of people that I was friends with growing up, like, you got to remember, like, uh I well, you don't remember because we didn't know each other back then, but I
yeah,
had a lot of like friends back in high school and like
yeah. Me
people.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, like people. I wasn't like, I didn't have best friends, but I had a lot of people that liked me and I was like acquaintance with. And I went to like different high schools, so I had multiple friends from different places around Bergen County. Today, I'm sure I have people that I'm acquainted with, but I would say more than half of those people I don't even communicate with anymore, or I have them on like social media, and a lot of them either unfollowed me or they just completely like, discarded anything that I'm talking about these days. But I'm at a point in my life where I'm happiest because I know what I'm doing is the right thing. I know that I'm being myself, and I know that all the people that might have unfollowed me or whatever, those people, they're miserable with their own existence. Like, they don't want to face the truth. They don't want to face reality. So they write me off as being crazy. Like, I can see the analytics of who like shares my post, bro. Whenever I post like some controversial stuff, it's like a lot of people are sharing my stuff. Like, and it's
really.
great. Yeah, like,
How do
so
you see who shares?
like, you got it on Instagram. If like, you go on the story, I think you can do it on the like a post too. You swipe up and then you hit like it says the views, and then right next to it, it has an analytical like bar. You hit the analytics and it tells you like all the details of the post, like how many females to males saw it, how many people watched it or whatever. So, and it's crazy. This is something that Instagram's, I don't know what's going on. Somebody on Instagram or the AI, they're on our side, because every time I post something like conspiracy, it gets a ton of views. Like, every time.
Of Mark Zuckerberg, right? Being having this red shift now, how he's all masculine and believes in free speech.
But even before that, like, it was happening. Like, even like in 2020, like anytime I would post like
Yeah.
something like,
What's weird about Instagram is they don't really delete my stuff. Like an app like TikTok, like half
yeah,
the time my stuff doesn't go through because they
yeah,
like, oh, it violates our
yeah,
terms of service. Even YouTube, bro. YouTube, I don't know why, but like they've been letting me talk a lot also without giving me
yeah,
any problems.
yeah. YouTube is, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it, but Instagram, anytime I post like conspiracy stuff, it gets a ton of views. Like, almost a lot of people that I follow look at it, right? But whenever I post like normal shit like music, it gets almost no views. So I'm looking at the analytics of who's like sharing my stuff, and I know, and I've heard from word of mouth that people are like calling me crazy and, oh, this kid is psychopath. And
Really?
yeah, like I've talked to like people, like some of the friends I had. I've seen them, and they're a part of other friend groups in high school, right? So like they're telling me like, yeah, like there's like group chats like about like stuff that you post. Like people are like like sending it to each other, and they're like calling you crazy and this and that. And I'm like laughing because I'm like, wow, it's so funny how
Ooh,
I can I can tell the truth to these people, and they're still calling me crazy, and it
but
makes me.
who
What
are
do you
you
say?
telling? Like, who is it though?
It's like people I went to high school with, people who like who know of me, and they come across like my stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this kid's crazy. He's a like, why are you associated with him?" You know what I mean? Like, so I just laugh because like I'm being my true self, and I'm never gonna stop being my true self. And people who are not being them true selves, they hate that I'm able to be my true self.
Yeah,
So that's why that's like my encouragement to all truth seekers is that continue to be your true self, put your original ideas out there, whether people like it or not. Because now I can tell a lot of people respect me because they're seeing the stuff that I was talking about happen. They're seeing how manipulative and control we really are and how brainwashed the world really is. Before 2, 3 years ago, I was looked at as crazy for saying people are brainwashed,
yeah,
for saying the jab was, X, Y, and Z, and Donald Trump was X, Y, and Z. Now, oh, people respect what I'm saying. People are sharing my ideas. They're screenshotting my stuff. So eventually, I want to have like what we're doing now, where it's like a podcast, and we can have live streams, and people can like watch us and hear us speak, and we can interact with a real truth community. Um, and I just wish YouTube didn't have a monopoly on like free speech. Like there's no like other platform as big as YouTube where you can speak truth and not get censored. I hate that. YouTube is so annoying. So hopefully one day we see a change where free speech does happen on a wider scale.
yeah. Do you have Bitchute?
I have it. It's
Yeah,
just not
I
many people use it.
I heard that. I know not many people use it. Yeah, you're right. I heard that they're gonna try to get like live streaming and stuff like YouTube. So
Yeah, they should. Even though like BitChute's still controlled op, but you can still spit a lot of good shit on there. Like that's like the one place where you can find like those deep conspiracies.
right, yeah.
You know.
But like I said with YouTube, and obviously this can change overnight. But
Yeah.
YouTube it hasn't been like giving me any strikes or like they've been leaving my videos alone. So they obviously my videos just don't get views. So
Yeah. Me too.
that I'm sure the algorithms like don't push it out at all.
Yeah. Yeah. My algorithm's botched too, man. It's fucked up.
Yeah,
I think like when you start using certain words, like they just botch it like immediately.
yeah,
TikTok is fried too. Like I sometimes I get a lot of views on TikTok, but then there's times where TikTok will block the things I say. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I stopped using it though. I don't know.
yeah, dude. Like the video I made on Nick Fuentes. Do you know that guy?
I've heard the name. Who? Remind me again. Who is it?
I mean, he's basically he's like one of those micro influencers. He's I guess you would call a little bit more far right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yeah, I've
pretty
heard the
young.
name.
He's pretty young. He's only like a year or two younger than us.
Mm-hmm.
But he's pretty known for like calling out the Jews and like he calls out people on the right. Like he is on the right, but like he calls out like people like Matt Walsh, Donald Trump himself.
Mm-hmm.
He says a lot of hyper masculine things and um anyway, that got a lot of views on YouTube. And what I mean by a lot is like it has 80 views right now, and that's a lot considering the video's only been up for 2 days.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know why, but that on TikTok though it got only like 20 views,
Mm.
which is weird because then I post like the video about the guys in the jail or whatever, and then like that gets almost 1,000 views. So it's really weird the way the algorithm works. I don't know why with Nick Fuentes. Like I was talking about weed mainly, not even like anything that conspiratorial.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes if you hit the right words, like your stuff will get out there more.
Yeah,
Um, like if you anything with Donald Trump is getting out there, like especially if it's like a good Donald Trump rant, like it's definitely getting out there.
Dottie Boy Trump.
I don't even like saying his name. I'm gonna start calling him DT.
Why don't you like saying his name?
Because it gives more power to
Donnie Boy.
him. Donnie Fraud. Yeah, man, it's sad, man. We got a generation of people who are lost. You have an older generation who are brainwashed, and then you have our generation where it's like in between. Some of us are truth, some of us are lost, some of us are brainwashed.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say something before about what you were saying
Hmm.
about like people and like sharing your stuff, whatever. Like I don't know if people share my stuff. I don't really think people care what I say, honestly. But so for me, it's the opposite, right? Like if I were to post like a selfie of me, let's say, or just like I don't know the sky, like that gets a lot of views always. I notice like on my story.
Hmm.
But if I post like my content, it doesn't. So I feel
Yeah,
like I'm wondering if there's an algorithm that like hides my stories more or
there's
something.
definitely an algorithm that does it. I'm
Like I
telling
feel
you.
like you gotta actually like be someone who's like interested in me, or like you have to like be viewing me a lot in order for me to like be pushed more
Yeah,
onto like someone like Kevin, because we talk a lot on Instagram. Like
right,
he'll
right.
always be one of the first people to view my stories, and it's
Hmm.
probably because we have a lot of interaction on
Right,
Instagram. You know.
right, right. Yeah, there's definitely an algorithm, but I don't know. For me,
But
I
yeah,
don't.
so what I was gonna say too beyond that was
Yeah.
there's been a few times recently within the past year that I ran into some people that I went to high school with too, and that like follow me, and they're like, "Oh, I like what you talk about." Like they always watch my stuff. I
Hmm.
notice it. They never say anything though,
Right.
or even like my. And that's what's annoying too is people don't interact with my stuff.
I know.
So it's like
Same.
I don't know how they feel about it. For all they could freaking hate it and want to punch
Ex-
me in the face for all I know. You know.
right, right.
Anyway, they're like, "Oh no, I keep up with it. Like I like when you talk about it. It motivates me." This one guy
Mm,
said, I remember, I was like, "Oh really?"
yeah,
And
same.
mind you, this is a dude that like he never says anything ever. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I've had the same interactions too, man. It's crazy,
Yeah,
and that's why I say, like, as truth seekers, you gotta just keep doing it because we are affecting people whether we see it or not. You know,
yeah,
and I've had people like exactly what you said. Like they tell me, "Wow, yeah, it's inspiring to see that." You know, this and that because you got to think like on their end, they're probably seeing basically little to no one talking like we are.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That's the
and
thing. They're really used to someone taking a political side. You know, so
exactly.
yeah,
So like yeah, like they're probably not into any of this conspiracies online or whatever. Maybe they've seen one or two, but they're probably most of their day is just a bunch of fucking brainwashed sheep that are putting their spin on agendas. So
yeah.
I always think in
Yeah,
terms of
there's a
that.
ton of, in particular, women from high school.
Hmm.
Because like women, I notice get involved more politically than men. It seems like, but a lot of women like standing up for women's right, like literally talking in front of a lot of people, which is ballsy. Like I respect it for sure.
Yeah,
And it's like, but it's about stupid stuff, nonsensical issues like women's rights, gay rights. I mean,
yeah,
stuff that's not an issue, really.
right, right.
Um, or just some sort of political side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
People, yeah. Go ahead.
so I definitely noticed that people like. There's people I've noticed that do stuff, but it's always for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Whether they and they're useful idiots. That's really
Yeah,
what they are.
yeah, because they're only like showing this much effort into it because it's something that they care about. Like for example, like yeah, gay rights could be an issue. It could be something that's an issue in the world, but on the grand scale, it's not that big of an issue. A
The
bigger
thing is,
issue.
we fixed the issue already. Like we already legalized gay marriage. I mean, most
e-
people
e-
have no issue with gay people right now.
Exactly, exactly. It's
Same
not
with
like
women. Like what
yeah,
rights do women not have? Like we've already fixed these issues. It's just obviously the powers that be needs to reiterate this and so that there could be division and all that stuff.
right, right, right.
But yeah, the point is that yes, you don't really know what people think, and people never interact with my stuff. I remember there was times where I don't think we were following each other at this time, but
Hmm.
I would put like polls, like what do you think about this, and like no one would ever vote. Like people would, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
girls that like I was just talking to, and like they didn't even really speak English. They're like they didn't even understand it really. But
That's funny.
I was like, damn, like I see all these dudes that I would think would understand it, but they're just
Uh,
not interacting. And so that makes me think, oh, like maybe they just skim through. Maybe they don't read what I say, or like that's
mhm.
another thing I wonder too. Do people the people that view my stories, do they actually read it? Not that my shit is long and drawn out, but like, do they actually read it, or are they just like skimming through it?
I've come to like I've come to assume that most people are not reading, but then some of them are. Like I would say like I would say like maybe 60% of people are not reading it, but then there's 40% who are reading it, you know? Especially if it's something that's like controversial, you know. That's why like if something happens big in the news, it's good to post about it right away because it gets people's attention, you know.
Yeah,
And you'll more likely get more people who are actually reading it. But I've noticed that a lot of people are probably just skipping through it, you know, especially if it's something long. But I don't care, as long as it's out there. And again, I've noticed that, like for example, I had one post have over 300 people view it, and about 40 or 50 people, or 40 or 50 times, it was shared. So I don't know if it's like individually one person sharing it, whatever, but it got shared like 50 times one post. But I only had like one person like it or swipe up to engage with it. So it's
oh
like, you know, the engagement is not really there unless I see people are sharing it, you know. But a lot of people are looking at it. So I'm just assuming that a lot of them aren't looking at it, but then there's a good amount that are actually reading it. You know what I mean?
yeah. And the interesting thing too is like obviously all my videos really get barely any views, but I notice my videos will get a couple more views. Like if I
Hmm.
post my stuff on social media, like on Twitter, on TikTok, and on Instagram, like you've seen me do, and like I notice I'll get a couple more at least if I do that. So some people watch it at least, you know.
Right,
So I
right.
don't know who. I wish I could see who exactly.
I
That'd be
know.
interesting, but yeah, I'm always interested to know like what people think. I remember in particular, like I followed some athletes for that I went to high school with because I feel like athletes are like dudes who are like maybe even into weightlifting. I don't know, can understand are more prone to understanding these things.
Hmm.
That's how I always felt. Maybe I'm wrong, but I always felt like athletes and guys who are like weightlifters or whatever exercise a lot or like are understand the shit better.
Hmm.
I guess because they have a more like they're more healthy, more in better shape, so they're more cognitively healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like they're more just prone to understanding it. Do you feel that way too, or?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it depends because
I noticed some of these athletes that I follow, they view my stories a lot. They don't say anything ever, but like
yeah,
they'll view
yeah,
my stories. You know?
yeah. I could see where you're coming from with that. It's just like some people are just so far gone in the matrix that their minds, even if they do work out and eat right, their minds is
Yeah,
still
it's
like,
not all because, dude, like even some dudes like that like have unfollowed me. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, because they're like simple-minded beta males, you know,
Yeah,
and they're all about, yo, hey, bro, Tom Brady, did he throw this? You know what I mean? Like they're all fucking dumbasses. So you know, I think there's again, I don't even think it's about gender because, like I told you, I think a lot of women respect my content more than men now. You know, I have a lot of women who actually like read it and be like, wow, like I can see where you're coming from. I had a girl say that today. So it's like maybe it's just about, you know, finding the right niche of people who agree with the way you think, you know. Um, and especially if you're coming from a righteous place, you're gonna find more often than not people are agreeing with or will agree with you. Um, it's just like, man, I don't understand how we could put so much evidence out there and then people deny it, but won't like they won't believe it, but they won't debate you about it either. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
like
Well, typically people will just resort to like, oh well, you're wrong, and they just say that, or like you're stupid, or you're a conspiracy theorist, or like they just like, or they straight up insult you like personally. You know?
right, right. and like for me, I do a lot of like numbers, as you can see in my decodes. I talk about a lot of numbers and stuff, and I'm like, I don't understand like what's so hard to people to understand about 1 plus 2 plus 3. You know what I mean? Like A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. Like if a word equals a certain number and it's connected to Donald Trump, don't you think like the cabal might have done this on purpose with using certain names and people? Like I don't understand what's so difficult to understand about that, but um, I still put it out there. Whether people are afraid of the knowledge, like for example, I had this one Christian, this kid who's like super Christian. He told me, "Hey man, you should stop talking about all this number nonsense and talk about Jesus more." And I'm like, bro, do you realize like first of all, you're not even saying Jesus' real name. His name's not even Jesus. His name is Yeshua. And second, you don't think Jesus would be doing the same thing, exposing the cabal, exposing the evil? And he's like, listen, man, you just need to talk about Jesus and bring people to Jesus. That's what you should do. Spread more positivity. I'm like, bro, what I'm doing is positive. You're just not seeing it in the right context. You know what I mean? Like that's my problem with a lot of religious people. They're not seeing it in the right context. Like Jesus didn't tell you to just sit and just do nothing and just pray and give your money to church. You gotta actually go out and fight against evil, you know? It's like we're in a spiritual world right now, and it's a spiritual battle. All of us have a a shield, a sword, and a helmet, and we're on a battlefield. And you have to choose which side you want to be on. You're on the side of good or you're on the side of bad, and you have to fight. If you don't fight, you're going to get killed. You're going to get washed in the middle, and so that's what we're going through in today's world. So that's like my closing remarks on this whole matter. We're pushing at 3 hours here. I don't know how
Yeah,
much longer
I
you
was
want to
gonna
go.
say I'm actually getting pretty tired, but yeah, dude, this
Yeah.
is. I'm really glad we did this. Time really obviously flies by, and we have a lot more to cover, of course, and a lot more stuff to get into. Well, if you watch this far, please subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think, and let us know what you want us to talk about. And hope everyone has a good night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we'll have all our information posted in the description below. Um, and we'll be back with another one.
Yeah, take care,
All
everyone.
right. Peace.